And
sorry, I'm
whatever.
laughing because I need to touch on a line that is just before she actually makes it.
Which
like
one?
in
Go
there.
ahead. What is it?
Aleid's bowels had turned to water by the time she reached the guards. Hey everybody, this is Kat.
And this is Rachel.
And you're listening to the Smut Peddlers podcast, a show for people who love books, especially when they're smut. We discuss our likes, our dislikes, and share all our favorite moments with you.
Today we're talking about Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, so grab your favorite beverage and get ready to burn with us. Celaena Sardothien has embraced her identity as Aelin Galathynius, Queen of Terrasen, but before she can reclaim her throne, she must fight. She will fight for her cousin, a warrior prepared to die for her. She will fight for her friend, a young man trapped in an unspeakable prison. And she will fight for her people, enslaved to a brutal king and awaiting their lost queen's triumphant return. Everyone Aelin loves has been taken from her. Everything she holds dear is in danger. But she has the heart of a queen, and that heart beats for vengeance. All right, we are talking about chapter 26 to 47. So it'll be the rest of part 1. And we start off with Aedion. I'm not about to keel over dead. He is alive and well. Healing.
Well-ish.
Slowly. Well, he's alive and he's okay. He's just healing.
Yes.
He will make a full recovery when he heals.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So this is also one of my favorite scenes in the book. This whole thing, they're talking about Rowan, because she had, brought up Rowan and they had talked previously when they, told each other about everything that's been going on up until this point. And Aedion is, fanboying out so hard. Being like, what do you mean you've met them all? You've met Rowan? People have been telling me stories about Rowan my entire life. He's so cool. Tell me all about him.
You keep needling
stories about them around the fires. Their battles and their exploits and adventures. Please don't ever tell him that. I will never hear the end of it, and he'll use it in every argument we have.
Yes. He cannot believe that she is now, just friends with this guy. Because she mentions, you keep needling me for details about Prince Rowan. You befriended one of the greatest warriors in history, perhaps the greatest warrior alive. Your father and his men all told me stories about Prince Rowan. I know all about this man. And you just casually mentioned that y'all are just friends. Just yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he can't wrap his mind around it.
His cadre. He also jokes about Rowan Whitethorn is a legend, and so is his, what do you call them? Cadre, she said glumly. The 6 of them. Aedion loosed a breath. We used to tell stories about them.
She is ready to go and hunt down more Vogue, and Aedion's just give me a couple more days, please. I'll go with you, and then I can help protect you. And she's like, no, I'm not waiting for you to get better. You're not going to be better in a couple of days, okay? I've got shit to do.
Mm-hmm.
We can't wait.
So in this same section, so you have your kind of back and forth between Aedion and Aelin about Rowan. You also get the knowledge, Chaol comes back, and you get the knowledge that the shadow market was burned.
Yeah.
And of course, Chaol, being Chaol, blames Aelin for it burning. And she goes, I suppose you blame me, Aelin said with midnight softness. A muscle flickered in the captain's jaw. He didn't even nod a greeting to Aedion or acknowledge the months they'd spent working together. The king could have ordered their slaughter by any means, Chaol said, the slender scar on his face stark in the moonlight. But he chose fire. Aelin was impossibly still. You came all this way to fling accusations in my face? You told me to stop by tonight, Chaol retorted. But I came to ask why you haven't moved on the clock tower. How many more innocent people are going to be caught in the crossfire? Are you suggesting that I don't care? You risked everything, multiple lives to get out one man. I think you find the city and its citizens to be expendable. Aelin hissed. It's my favorite part where she fucking claps back on Chaol. Need I remind you, Captain, that you went to Endovier and did not blink at the slaves, at the mass graves? Need I remind you that I was starved and chained, and you let Duke Parrington force me to the ground at Dorian's feet while you did nothing? And now you have the nerve to accuse me of not caring when many of the people in this city have profited off the blood and misery of the very people you ignored. Yes. Fuck you, Kale. This is another fuck you, Kale.
Yep.
You don't get to blame her for literally everything because you guys are in the middle of a war. It's not all her fault.
Yeah.
Like, the king is going to make decisions, and that is the king's fault. It's not her fault. The king was a piece of shit.
Aelin leaves, and Adian, like, basically goes in at Chaol as well. Like, you want to pick a fight, you come to me, not her. And he says, Chaol says, you look more or less in one piece. Adian gave him a wolf's grin, and you won't be if you speak to her that way again. Did you learn anything about Dorian while you were in the castle? You insult my queen, and yet you have the nerve to ask me for that information? And Chaol's like, it's been a day. Please, like, give me anything.
Yeah, this is when we learn that the Volg are kind of spreading out after Adian's escape, and they're they're putting more resources into finding him, and so they're not in the places that the rebels have known them to be, and so
they've moved.
They're trying to figure out where their new nests are, and all the prisoners that they had, they were taking down to these nests. They're no longer doing that. They're just bringing them straight to the castle or to the dungeons or to Morath. Like, there's not an in-between time. So Chaol feels like, now I can't do anything because I can't even save these people. Where you're like, okay, I understand you're frustrated with that, but still.
Yeah.
Aelin, of course, is Aelin, so she feels guilty about the Shadow Market burning. She also feels like it might have been a sign specific for her, like that the king knows that she is here, and that's why he did it. But during this time, she also has got shit to do. So she feels guilty, but has to keep pushing on, as she does. And so she stalks another group of Volg commanders. And one kind of breaks off from the group and moves into a darker portion of the sewers. And it leads her to a creature, which we are now introduced to. She calls it a word hound. It pretty much just, there's water that's dark and like you can't see, and then just this creature forms out of it. So we don't know if it's something that like swims in the water. We don't know if it is the water itself, if the water is actually some like part of this black goo that just becomes this creature. We don't know if it has to be tied to this water source or whatever to exist. We kind of don't know much about it, except for like this thing just appears and it speaks. And it's not a demon that Aelin hears. She hears the voice of the king of Otterlin. Which...
she's like hidden.
Yeah.
So like it comes out of the water and they don't notice that she's there because she's just trying to get more information. Mm-hmm. And somehow this word hound is like being used by the king to be able to like see through its eyes, I guess, and like be able to relay commands and stuff. Which is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That in and of itself adds so many more layers of questions I have of, is this a creature that is being manipulated by the king? is this the king's power in some way? He can manipulate water into becoming a creature. Is this some other type of substance that's not water that is part of the king, and he just can create a monster that doesn't actually exist? He's not really like seeing through something else's eyes. He is this. There's just so many things that I'm like, the fuck is happening, sir? I am scared now. King of Otterlin is scary.
He can do a lot more than we know.
Yes.
Because he keeps doing shit that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
She makes one smart decision and fucking books it out of there and leaves.
Yep.
Good.
Like,
good
no,
job.
thank you.
Because she does this thing where she gets angry or depressed, and then she goes out and gets herself in fucking trouble. And this time, at least, she found trouble and then left it alone. Good job. We're so proud. She goes back, and of course, everyone is like, "You've been gone for hours. You could have been dead." She's like, "I'm fine. I'm a capable adult who can do insane things that you guys have never seen, but okay, sure. Yeah." She also, in this conversation, she tells Adian that she's the one that killed Baba Yellowlegs.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I wondered who did that."
He also has this, like, he's, like, proud of her for doing it, too. It's like, of course you did.
Oh, also, I went and trashed this pirate lord of Skulls Bay's place, freed all of his slaves.
Yeah, he's not too
and
thrilled.
Looked damn good while doing it. Has anyone ever taught you humility? You didn't learn it, so why should I?
So
You're
good.
So great.
During this, Adian is, of course, like, stir crazy. So we get, well, I should say, back up slightly. Cats are darting around. She has an inner dialogue, where it's not brought up, but in the back of her mind, she's thinking about the blood oath and how she hasn't told Adian about it.
Yeah, Adian mentions it.
Uh-huh.
About how he would take the blood oath, and that if anyone takes the blood oath, it's going to be me. Mm-hmm. Now, he's referencing, like, him or Ren or someone else from their court, not knowing that Rowan is an option.
Yep.
And she doesn't tell him that Rowan has already taken it. So she, like, goes out into the sewers, like, looking for the Vogue previously, not just from the guilt of, like, whether or not the shadow market was her fault, but also because she's like, "Oh, I lied to Adian about."
She omitted the truth.
Later.
Yeah.
Well,
he brought it up, and she goes, yeah. Like,
yeah.
We'll talk about that. We can't talk about that right now. We'll talk about that later. So it's like she diverted the truth. She was like, she didn't outright say, "Oh, yeah, you can have that," or "I don't have that anymore" situation.
She's just like, kind of like, "This is a problem for later.
Future me will think about this. I have other stuff to think about right now." But yeah, so they're back at the apartment, and Adian is stir crazy, and I think Nezrin is there as well, and she is like, "Fine, we can go for a walk." And so it's her, Adian, and Nezrin go and, like, walk about.
They, like, go out to, like, get a drink and then go back home.
Yeah. They go to a pub, which is very cute. And then they have drinks, but they also make the comment of, like, we can't get drunk because we have to be, like, on
alert.
Like, very alert and ready to go. And as they're leaving the pub, they see, they
hear the scrape of boots on stone.
Adian.
And Adian sniffs the air.
Yeah. He, of course, goes into high alert of, like, pulls out a knife and realizes that, like, he sensed somebody nearby. And then he slightly recognizes the scent a little bit as a man appears. And it is Rowan.
Yay!
And we're very happy because Rowan's here.
And Aelin is also very happy.
Yes. And as we
a
learn,
shuddering breath and a small whimpering noise came out of her, a sob, and then she was sprinting down the alley, flying as though the winds themselves pushed at her heels. She flung herself onto the male, crashing into him hard enough that anyone else might have gone rocking back into the stone wall. But the male grabbed her to him, his massive arms wrapping around her tightly and lifting her up.
Nesryn made to approach, and Adian stops her, and she goes, "Who is that?" Adian smiled. "Rowan."
And we all smiled. And
yes.
There was lots of smiling. Your note literally says, Rowan is here and all is right with the world.
It's true.
They immediately start bantering. She says, I could smell you from miles away. You smell like shit. He's like, yeah, I was a stowaway, okay? There aren't a lot of places for me to shower, all right?
I thought I gave you an order to stay in Wenlin. I had my reasons. Your friends at the fortress say hello, by the way. I think they miss having an extra scullery maid, especially Luca, especially in the mornings. This is why I left Luca in the list of names.
Yeah.
Because we
so nice.
love Luca.
Luca's so lazy.
So, a thing to note. The reason Rowan wasn't going to come originally was because he had to come in one of his forms, because magic isn't alive here.
Yes.
And so he had to either come as a fae or as a hawk. He clearly is not a hawk. So he needs to hide the fact that he is a fae male that exists in this very human realm that hates magic. Not realm, but place that hates magic. Yeah. So it's very crazy to have fae just on the streets of Rifthold.
Yes.
So Rowan, being smart, does not really say anything in the streets. He's like, we need to go somewhere that's safe to have this conversation. He also is like, who the heck is that over there? Those people. And Nesrin's like, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna let you guys catch up.
Have that conversation.
Yeah. She's just like, I have somewhere else to be, and it's not right here, so I'm gonna leave because this seems like a lot is gonna happen, and I don't really necessarily want to be a part of it. Which
and they go back home.
Fair.
And then they all walk inside, and then Aelin literally drags him into her bedroom and closes the door, and Adian's just out there okay, bye. I'll be out here, I guess.
Okay, cool.
He cuts off all of his hair.
Yes, we learned that he has
Which I was like, sir, in terms of attempting to hide the fey ears, why that decision?
Well, because he needed to potentially fight a war.
But also,
and hair is gonna get in the way.
But your ears.
Yep.
It's a choice that we made.
Yep. It's a choice.
Hush, your hair was so pretty. I was hoping you'd let me braid it one day. Suppose I'll have to buy a pony instead. When you shift, will your hawk form be plucked then? She's such a smartass. She makes a bath for him because he does actually smell like shit. And this was something that I highlighted because it made my heart hurt. She gives him her lavender soap.
Mm-hmm. As we learn.
Which she didn't give Sam.
Well, Sam used it. And
Sam used it, and then she literally bought him shitty soap so that he wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she always felt bad that she didn't let him use the lavender soap. So she gives Rowan the lavender soap, which I think is really nice.
Yes.
And puts a bunch of other smelly shit in there. Rose, lemon verbena, jasmine. And he's like, do I look like I care what you pick?
She washes his hair.
So nice.
which also is like a very intimate thing. And she's like, she even says that internally, like, it was an intimacy, but it was essential too.
Yeah, they're just friends, guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're both super convinced they're just friends.
I do think it's
Sure.
funny that she's like, so what about your magic? He's like, what about it? I take it it's gone. How does it feel to be as powerless as a mortal? It's not funny. Do I look like I'm laughing? I spent the first few days sick to my stomach and barely able to move. It was like having a blanket thrown over my senses. And now I'm dealing with it. Grumpy. She, of course,
banter is so good.
Says that she's gonna go find him clothes because his are disgusting, and she goes to pull out Sam's clothes for him, and Rowan comes up behind her and says, "I don't have to wear those," because he knows. Yeah. And she's like, "They're just sitting and wasting away, just sitting here." He goes to put them on, and they do not fit because he is massive.
Yeah,
as most females, and Sam was not a female, so. Not massive. So he says, I barely fit in the pants and the shirt. I didn't want to rip it. Like, I didn't want to ruin it forever.
Yeah, which is so nice. He looks through her clothes and is like, this is a lot of clothing. And she's like, I would have. And he says that they're all beautiful. And she says, I would have pegged you for a proud member of the anti-finery crowd. He pulls out a specific dress. Gold embroidery continued from the shoulders, sweeping to form a serpentine dragon. Its maw roaring toward the neck, and the body curving down until the narrow tail formed the border of the lengthy train. Rowan loosed a breath. I like this one best. I saw it in a shop when I was 16 and bought it immediately, but when the dress was delivered a few weeks later, it seemed too old. It overpowered the girl I was, so I never wore it, and it's hung here for 3 years. He ran a scarred finger down the gold spine of the dragon. You're not that girl anymore, he said softly. Someday I want to see you wear this.
Teehee.
And then they say they miss each other.
Well, she says she misses him, and he says, we weren't apart that long. Goes, right. To an immortal, several weeks were nothing. So, am I not allowed to miss you? I know he missed her because of the way he sniffed her hair, like enveloped her.
Yes.
But he doesn't actually say it. Which
so
makes me mad.
I did make a note of this, that I really like the way that she responds to him trying to keep her at arm's length. Because, like, you can tell from just this conversation and from any of the other conversations that they have that he is trying to do that because he's a stupid boy. And she's like, she bats it away with, like, humor for most of, like, that it seems like it doesn't faze her, at least, like, in these beginning parts. Like, she does mention that, like, it would be nice if he said it, but it doesn't deter her at all, which I think is great, because there are times when we've read, like, contemporary romance books where, like, someone says one thing and then all of a sudden it's like, they'd never want me. I'm such an idiot. I don't know why I ever thought that all these other 9 million signs meant that they want me when I got one sign of them being an asshole one time. Like,
yep. This is also where he says, like, I came here for a reason. We need to talk.
Yeah.
And she's like, good talk or bad talk? And he goes, the kind that will make me glad you don't have access to your power so you don't spew flames everywhere. Her stomach tightened. Right. That was one incident, and if you ask me, your absolutely wonderful former lover deserved it. Well, Aylin's new favorite nickname, Fire-Breathing Bitch Queen, had been fairly accurate during that dinner.
It's our favorite as well.
Yes. They decide to have this conversation later. And so she goes and meets, or she brings him out to, like, officially meet Adian. He, of course, Adian is like trying to play all macho, even though he was just like fawning over Rowan the whole frickin' time. And so he pretty much was like, "You never bothered to tell me how handsome your fairy prince is, Aelin. Tomorrow morning, you and I are going to train on the roof. I want to know everything you know." Aelin clicked her tongue. "All I've heard from your mouth these past few days is Prince Rowan this, Prince Rowan that, and yet this is what you decide to say to him? No bowing and scraping? If Prince Rowan wants formalities, I can grovel, but he doesn't look like someone who particularly cares." With a flicker of amusement in his green eyes, the Fey Prince said, "Whatever my prince wants." Adian caught the words too. My prince. Whatever my queen wants.
My queen.
Oh, please. Adian caught the words too. My queen.
My queen.
Two princes stared at each other. Of course, they're doing the like macho Fey male thing. Two Fey males locked in some unspoken.
If you're going to have a pissing contest, can you do it on the roof?
Yes. This is when Rowan also drops the bombshell of he knows Adian's father, and you're like, excuse me? Of course, Rowan shows up and is like, "Here's some information that you didn't know you needed." Rowan's head was still angled as he asked, "Your mothers were cousins, Prince, but who sired you? Does it matter? Do you know?" Rowan pressed. Adian shrugged. "She never told me or anyone." "I'm guessing you have some idea?" Aelin asked. Rowan said, "He doesn't look familiar to you?" "He looks like me." "Yes, but," he sighed, "you met his father a few weeks ago, Gavriel." And you're like, the fuck?
Also, Adian is like, the fuck? Because he's called the Lion. And Adian's like, "The Lion's my dad? Are you kidding?"
We get a lot of bombshell stuff here.
Yeah, so they have a conversation about like what that means in terms of like Maeve and Maeve's court and Aelin's court, pretty much, because Adian is of Aelin's court, but since Gavriel is Adian's father, it's
and
like
he's blood sworn to me.
Messy, yeah.
This is where she Aelin also clicks it together. Like,
yeah,
puts it together.
She asked, like, since Maeve is bound through a blood oath, would that mean that Maeve would have any claim on his offspring? And Rowan's basically like, "I don't know, but even if she thought she did, it would be an act of war to steal Adian from you." And they basically all decide that, like, that this information shouldn't leave the room and shouldn't go beyond the three of them unless Adian decides that he wants to, like, talk to Gavriel about it and have a relationship. And she realizes that that's the reason that Gavriel had asked, like, how old Aelin was when she saw him, because he must have made a connection in his mind that, like, she looked similar to her mother's cousin, who would have been Adian's mother. And she was too old.
Too young.
Aelin was too young?
Yeah, Adian's older. Yeah.
Okay.
Adian is older.
So he basically realized that she's too young, that Adian, if he had had any kids with Adian's mother, that they would be older. So she realizes that that's why he had asked. So now she's curious of, like, he'd never thought about it before, so maybe he would be looking now, but we don't necessarily know. But it's pretty clear that, like, if Adian and Gavriel meet, Gavriel's gonna know. Like, he's gonna figure it out.
So we're not gonna let that happen right now. He can have this happen later, but we're not gonna let that happen now. So of course, Aelin, Adian, and Rowan are all bantering back and forth. Aelin pretty much shoves Rowan, saying that he's insufferable. "Are you actually going to get into pissing contests with every person we meet? Because if that's the case, then it'll take us an hour just to make it down one block of the city, and I doubt that the residents will be particularly happy." Adian makes some comment, and Aelin never said anything about sending for you. And then Rowan, of course, goes, does she answer to you, General? Which is a little like, okay, Rowan, take a step back. Calm down for like a whole second. This is kind of everything's
Males
leading up
being males.
to, yeah. Aelin rolled her eyes. You know he didn't mean it that way, so don't pick a fight, you prick. Adian stiffened. He could fight his own battles if Aelin thought he needed protecting, if she thought Rowan was the superior warrior. Rowan said, I'm blood sworn to you, which means several things, one of which being that I don't particularly care for the questioning of others, even your cousin. The words echoed in his head, his heart. Blood sworn. Aelin went pale. Adian asked, what did he just say?
Oh.
Rowan took the blood oath to me before I left Wenlin. You let him do what? Of course, Adian gets angry because he feels betrayed and lied to. Rowan tries to step in of like protect Aelin because he's getting angry. She holds him back of like, no, I can have this argument. This is my battle to have currently because I didn't give him all the information.
He like lunges for a porcelain figure atop the mantle, and she goes, you break one thing, you shatter just one of my possessions, and I will shove the shards down your rotting throat.
Mm-hmm.
He like backs away.
Okay.
And obeys.
She pretty much says, go have your temper tantrum elsewhere and don't come back until you act like a human being, or half of one at least.
Yeah. She tells him that he's her Karanon, and that it's also her blood to do what she wants with, so whatever. And then he leaves.
Yeah. He's right. He is right to be upset that she didn't tell him, but yes, she is also right to be upset that he felt like he was entitled to that when it's her decision to make either way.
Yeah. I think, like, after he cools down, it definitely isn't, it doesn't feel like an entitlement thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's pissed at the time, which makes it seem like it's an entitlement thing to me. But once he cools off, it's like, yeah, okay. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's bummed, but he absolutely recognizes that it's her. She can do what she wants.
All his plans, everything he'd worked for. Without the blood oath, he was just a general. Just a landless prince of the Ash River line.
All these boys out here feeling sorry for themselves. So, since Adian leaves, Rowan and Aelin talk about the reason that Rowan has come here in the first place. Which is that he learns that Lorcan is here in Rifthold. And he was not going to stay away while Lorcan was around, basically hunting her. He's pretty sure. And they talk about, like, how much of a threat that could be and what risk that, like, puts her in. And he basically says that he had come here to, like, hunt him, to try to figure out, like, what he's doing and what he wants specifically before he finds her.
Yes.
Yeah. So that means that he's sticking around for a while. And they have a whole conversation about, he's like, where am I going to sleep? And she's like, you're going to sleep in my room with me. And the bed's right there. And he's like,
we did.
We can't do that. Like,
we can't do that here.
We did that at the fort. It's fine. That was a different situation. You can't do that here. It'll send a message. She goes, I don't give a shit. It's like,
so what? Let it send a message. Who fucking cares?
I don't care.
I make the rules. And I don't care. So,
in his head, it's all just, she's like, this is one of the stupidest fights we've ever had. All thanks to your idiocy, I might add. She stalked toward her closet, hips swishing as if to accentuate every word as she snapped, just get in bed. He loosed a tight breath as she and those hips vanished into the closet. Boundaries, lines, off limits. Those were his new favorite words, he reminded himself as he grimaced at those silken sheets, even as the huff of her breath still touched his cheek. Aw, you sweet angel. You're so weak. This will last all of 0 seconds.
Improper. That was the one thing he like. It will be improper. And she's like,
it would be improper.
Oh, yeah?
She's like, okay, cool.
Hold my beer. You want to see improper? She gets changed for bed. And she puts on a lacy nightgown that is just a top and not a bottom. It just is one piece.
Pink,
and of course,
very delicate, very short lace nightgown. Rowan was, when she emerged, face washed and clean, Rowan was sitting up, arms crossed over his bare chest. You forgot the bottom part. She merely blew out the candles in the room one by one. His eyes tracked her the entire time. There is no bottom part. It's starting to get so hot, and I hate sweating when I sleep. Plus, you're practically a furnace, so it's either this or I sleep naked. You can sleep in the bathtub if you have a problem with it.
This is another point where Rowan 1 bajillion% fights against the fact that he wants her more than just a friend and his queen.
Are all of your night clothes like this? So curious about my negligees, Prince. Whatever would the others say? Maybe you should issue a decree to clarify. Yes, I have more, don't worry. If Lorcan is going to murder me in my sleep, I might as well look good. Is there a specific color you'd like me to wear? If I'm going to scandalize you, I should at least do it in something you like. You're a menace. And then he says gold, not yellow, real metallic gold. You're out of luck. I would never own something so ostentatious. 30 minutes later, Rowan was still staring up at the ceiling, teeth gritted as he calmed the roaring in his veins that was steadily shredding through his self-control. That goddamn nightgown. Shit. He was in such deep, unending shit. Yes!
Aelin wakes up.
Give in to your temptations, please!
There's a point where while Rowan is sleeping, Aelin gets up and sneaks away. Aelin wakes up earlier than Rowan, and she crawls out of bed and goes into the common area. At this point, she has still not spoken to Adian. But he does show up in the common area as she is starting to cook breakfast. And he says there are mushrooms somewhere, and he starts helping her. And this is kind of where they start being friendly towards each other again. They just needed to cool off, both of them. She says, good, then you can clean and cut them, and you get to chop the onion. Is that punishment for last night? If that's what you think is an acceptable punishment, sure. And is making breakfast at this ungodly hour your self-imposed punishment? I'm making breakfast because I'm sick of you burning it and making the whole house smell. Adian laughed quietly. You stayed on the roof the whole time you were out, didn't you? You kicked me out of the apartment, but not the warehouse, so I figured I might as well make myself useful and take watch. The twisty, bendy, old ways manner of warping orders. She wondered what the old ways had to say about queenly propriety. We both have atrocious tempers, you know. I didn't mean what I said about the loyalty thing or about the half-human thing. You know, none of that matters to me. Aelin, I'm ashamed of what I said to you. Well, that makes two of us, so let's leave it at that. They don't have a true, like, conversation about it, but they're like, we both fucked up. Let's just exist together and it'll be fine.
Yeah. He also says, like, he tells her that, like, one of the reasons that he reacted so badly is because, like, that was everything to him. Like, that was the biggest part of his whole existence. And it was the thing that, like, him and Ren used to fight over it. And, like, that's why Ren's father hated Adian, is because he was the one who was, like, supposed to be the one to take it. And Aelin says, like, you can still take it and so can Ren, only if you want to, but I won't be upset if you don't want to. In Terrasen, there was only one. She stirred the onions. Things change. New traditions for a new court. You can swear it right now if you wish. Adian finished the mushrooms and set down the knife as he leaned against the counter. Not now, not until I see you crowned. Not until we can be up in front of a crowd, in front of the world. She dumped in the mushrooms. You're more dramatic than I am. Adian snorted. Hurry up with the eggs. I'm going to die of starvation. Make the bacon or you won't get any. Adian could hardly move fast enough.
I just love that it was like, yeah. They have a serious conversation, but it's very like bantery and it's very good.
It always terms bantery.
Yeah. We have a flashback into Dorian and Dorian
Honestly,
slash
this
demon.
the whole chapter can be summed up in Dorian still wishes he was dead.
Yep.
God damn it. And he's still trapped.
Yes.
This is what Sarah does to us. She just gives us like 2 fucking pages, 1 page basically, of like, hey, by the way, Dorian, still in the shit. Okay, cool. Bye. Have fun.
Yep.
Fuck.
The demon pretty much takes him to this secret room that has a bunch of crowns on black pillows on pedestals.
So shit.
There's
and it's
just,
like all crowns of the, fallen kingdoms.
Yeah. So
it's a very...
Terrasen's probably there. They're all...
Yeah, I don't even
They're all
know.
there. And so, of course, he wished that the woman had killed him that day.
It's a very, makes sense. That the king of Otterland would be like, here are my trophies. Down here. Fuck her.
In this thing. And then the fucking demon prince dude, of course, is like, yep, I want to go there and be a part of that. Sounds great.
Okay.
And then we are back with the witches. And Manon is not happy.
This really threw me off.
I also, it left turn.
Left turn, 100%.
Yeah.
Manon is pissed, storms into Parrington's war tent, and Caltaine
Well, first she asks a question of, why are my 13 being denied access to the Yellow Legs Coven? Because...
Well, she goes... Yeah, that's what she goes in and yells
Yeah.
that, and then she sees what's happening and is like, what the... What?
Yep.
What's happening? So, like, yes, sorry. It is important to note that she goes in to yell about the Yellow Legs because they don't have access to them, which is important. What the fuck are they doing to them? And
then she just...
What Manon sees is Caltaine was like is standing in front of a trembling soldier, her palm outstretched towards his face, and all over her an unholy aura of dark fire. What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, I have the note of Caltaine is doing some dark magic on a young sobbing soldier, and that when it's questioned, she says it's shadow fire. And another thing
and
to note,
Caltaine is the one that says shadow fire.
Manon is like
has not
asking
been
all these
speaking.
questions, and Parrington is like, I'm not going to tell you anything. You don't deserve. Get out of here. Like, is trying to get her out, and Manon is asking Caltaine pretty much, and Caltaine is responding to her, and
is responding to Manon specifically.
Yeah, and up to this point, Caltaine has not spoken to anyone. She has not said a single word. She has just been like a thing that has moved throughout.
She's a wraith.
Yeah.
And it's like the Duke was lunging for Manon to get her out, and when Caltaine actually speaks and says shadow fire, he like stops dead and like stops moving. And
she
Manon
hasn't spoken
asks
to
where
him
it comes from. Right, like she's been completely silent. And Manon asks where the shadow fire comes from, and Caltaine says, from me, it's always been there, asleep, and now it's awoken, shaped anew. And Manon asks what it does, and Caltaine says, it does this. The shadow fire shot from her hand and wrapped around the soldier like a second skin. He opened his mouth in a silent scream, convulsing and thrashing, tipping his head back to the ceiling of the tent and sobbing in quiet, unheard agony. but no burns marred his skin, as if the shadow fire summoned only pain, as if it tricked the body into thinking it was being incinerated. Ha!
Not good.
Why are you torturing him? Is he a rebel spy? No, just a simple man. Parrington's torturing his own soldiers. Like, just any old dude in his army, just walk in. Sure, Caltaine will just test on you, I guess.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Parrington pretty much says, like, that's enough, and tells Caltaine to go lay down, and stops this.
Kills the soldier.
And then walks over and breaks the soldier's neck. And, of course, Manon goes back into her, like, okay, why are we being denied access to the Yellow Legs Coven?
Weird shit. We'll talk about that later.
And he's like,
Back to
don't
what
worry
I came
about
in here
it.
for.
It was successful. And then
That's
the
all
Duke
you need to know.
threatens.
What the fuck?
Threatens Manon and the witches and says that he'll go to her grandmother and tell her that she's acting out, and that, has she not told you the High Witches are making weapons for us? Like, they know about all of this, and they're making weapons, and they're working with us, and now you need to get in line, or we're going to, like, see how good you guys actually are. So he pretty much threatens to, like, sick Caltaine on them, or sick something on them. And so Manon goes back to her 13 and pretty much says, like, we're on guard duty. We are rotating out witches, and we're going to sleep in rotations, and we're always going to be kind of on guard.
They're on alert.
Yeah. When she is telling her 13 this, she's doing this up in the Eyrie, which is where Abraxos and all the other wyverns are. And Abraxos, being his sweet baby angel,
Yes.
Alide was going to go to her room and sensed someone in there, and so she didn't go in, not knowing that someone was Manon. So it wasn't actually that big of a difference, but she goes up, and the only place she assumed that she could be safe was near Abraxos, and she falls. She's like, I just need to sleep here. I have a few hours until I have to be up and, like, doing stuff again. And so she sits down to sleep, and he realizes that she's shivering, and just like he did with Manon, he opens up his wing and, like, pretty much says, like, okay, come here. I'm warm. You come snuggle. It's fine.
She says, please don't eat me.
Yeah. And then she's asleep in seconds.
She passed out.
Yeah. Pretty much they find Alide there, and she's, like, trying to sneak out, like, don't see me, don't see me, don't see me. And Manon's like, I knew you were here. You could have just waited. And then my second and third wouldn't have known that you were here. You could have just stayed there and pretended you weren't here. And now I have to go tell them all about you and how I'm protecting you. So, because Alide is there, Manon now gives her a task and tells her, you got to figure out what has happened to the Yellow Legs clan. And that means you need to go and sneak into the dungeons where they're keeping them and doing their project, their experiment.
Yeah. She knows that she's the only one that's, because she's not actually a witch. Like,
yep.
They will get in trouble if they try to go down there. But she's pretty sure that this human girl could figure out a way down there. And I think it's also a test for Alide. I mean, it's definitely a test for Alide, but it's the first one that Manon, like, actually gives her, because she's not as weak as she makes everyone think, but she's not a witch in there. Like, she does not defend herself or fight for herself. Like, she's very much like, run away, avoid confrontation, get out of the situation, then fix the situation.
But she also wasn't raised by witches to have that, like...
not. But I think this is that first bit of
Manon
being like, all right, fine. If you're going to be part of our shit, then, like,
you gotta work with
we're
us.
Starting. Yeah. You're starting now. So now she has to figure out a way to get in to see what's happening with them.
Yeah.
She figures out that I could probably do that through the laundry, and kind of starts hatching her plan of, I'm going to go and kind of cozy up with the people who do all of the laundry and try to figure out if there's a way that I can, find the person that delivers that stuff down to those rooms and see if I can use that as a way in.
Yeah. She starts working in the laundry area and notices that there's one particular laundress that goes down every other day with clean sheets.
In her spying.
Yes.
And walking around. Gross. She finds Vernon alone with Caltaine, and Vernon is being a gross, disgusting sack of shit. He's honestly, he's up there about to assault her, unfortunately, and Elide doesn't run away. She goes up there and she says, Caltaine, the witches are looking for you. You have to go talk to the witches. And Vernon's like, they're not allowed to call her in. What are you talking about? And Elide's like, nope, gotta go, gotta take her.
Yep, sorry, she's needed.
She's gotta go, bye.
It's grabs her wrist and is like, come with me, Caltaine. Just come on, it's fine. And Caltaine just starts blindly walking, still in this numb thing, but you get this sense that there was a slight relief in her eye, and so deep inside Caltaine knows that Elide rescued her, I think. I'm hoping that similar to Dorian and similar to everyone else that has this stupid necklace on, that there's still a person inside there, and she knows that Elide did something kind for her, and that might be a benefit later on.
Yeah, a kernel of understanding. Caltaine merely walked away, that dress hissing on the stones. There were bruises that looked like fingerprints around her other arm, as if someone had gripped her too hard. This place, these people. Elide fought her nausea, waiting until the woman vanished around a corner. And this is when Elide is like, screw it, I'm going in. It's happening. She goes to find Manon and says, I need you to get me some poison. Yes, Elide, what are we doing with the poison?
Elide be doing some shit. She's hatching plans. She's gonna make this shit work.
Plans.
It's gonna be great. So,
yeah,
we're back to the Fae men. The Fae men
they're fighting again.
That have to have pissing matches all the time. And so
but they're fighting for a good reason this time.
Yeah. Adian wants to go and do all the things because Aylin's like, Rowan and I are going to go do this thing. And Adian's like, what the heck? I just have to stay here and he gets to go?
Let me come with.
And she's like, okay, well, just prove to me that you're healed then, if you can go and do all these things. And so she pretty much forces Adian to train with Rowan for a little bit. And it doesn't go as Adian would like it to go.
No. Adian is not healed enough.
No, he's not.
He's not. I never understand this, line of thinking when they do this. They're like, how do you not... You know you're injured. Mm-hmm. Significantly injured.
Yep.
I don't understand the logic of being like, oh yeah, if I have to get into a situation where I can fight for my life, I'm ready to do so.
The issue is that he doesn't want her to go. He wants to be able to at least try to protect her if shit's gonna hit the fan and not just sit back, which I get. But also, you are a detriment to the group if they have to think about you getting hurt and then having to rescue you in a scenario if they are also fine. If something happens to you, they then have to now pivot and rescue you in this scenario instead of just having to deal with themselves. So,
it's been a week.
Yeah.
A single week. And he was, like, about to die. Like, what the
Yep.
fuck? So they basically are, like, training. And they're like, no, we're done. You're not ready. You're not healed enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard a story, Adian draw to Rowan, that you killed an enemy warlord using a table. Please, Aelin said. Who the hell told you that? Quinn, your uncle's captain of the guard. He was an admirer of Prince Rowan's. He knew all the stories. Aelin slid her eyes to Rowan, who smirked, bracing his sparring stick on the floor. You can't be serious, she said. What, you squashed him to death like a pressed grape? Rowan choked. No, I didn't squash him like a grape. He gave the queen a feral smile. I ripped the leg off the table and impaled him with it. Clean through the chest and into the stone wall, Adian said. Well, said Aelin, snorting. I'll give you points for resourcefulness, at least.
It's my favorite bit. It's so good.
It's so
No, I didn't squash him like a grape. I just ripped the leg off the tail and impaled him into the stone wall. What the fuck? Okay, cool.
Don't be silly.
Dear God. They basically, like, finish this fight. Rowan threatens Adian and is like, if you ever talk to her the way that you talked to her last night, I'll fucking kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And Adian couldn't nod without him paling himself on the jagged edge of the sword that he held at his throat, but he breathed, understood, Prince. Adian opened his mouth again as Rowan backed away, about to say something he would surely regret, but then a bright hello sounded. They all whirled, weapons up, as Lysandra closed the rolling door behind her, boxes and bags in her arms. She had an uncanny way of sneaking into places unnoticed. I wonder what that could be about.
I wonder.
Lysandra took 2 steps, that stunning face grave, then stopped dead as she beheld Rowan. And then his queen was suddenly moving, snatching some bags from Lysandra's arms and steering her into the apartment a level above. Don't you look at him that way. Get the fuck in here.
Is that Lysandra? Rowan asked. Not too bad on the eyes, is she? Rowan snorted. Why is she here? Aiden gingerly prodded the wound at his side. She probably has information about Arabin. Yet she doesn't want you to hear it? Adian said, I think she finds everyone but Aelin boring. Biggest disappointment of my life. A lie, and he didn't know why he said it. But Rowan smiled a bit. I'm glad she found a female friend. I'm also glad she found a female friend.
Same. I'm so glad that they're friends.
And, of course, Lysandra immediately goes into girl talk mode. When they...
Who is that spectacularly built man downstairs?
I've never been with a female or female for that matter. Aelin shook her head to try to clear the image of her mind. She swallowed. Stop that.
Lysandra was grinning.
Well, I have 2 things. One, Nezra sent me a note this morning saying that you had a new, very muscled guest staying and to bring some clothes. So I brought clothes. Looking at our guest, I think Nezrin undersold him a good deal. So the clothes might be too tight. Not that I'm objecting to that one bit, but he can use them until you get new ones. Then she also gets news. She gives news about Arabin. Arabin received a report that 2 prison wagons were spotted heading south to Morath, chock full of those missing people. He's been tracking which people disappear. Pretty much this information she will later give to Kaal and Nezrin so that they can stop the wagons if they so choose. Which they end up doing.
Yeah. She also offers to kill Clarice.
Mm-hmm.
So that Lysandra doesn't have to worry about her debt anymore. And she says, Lysandra knew what she meant. Not yet, not now. You say the word and it's done. Lysandra's smile was a thing of savage dark beauty.
Yes. Yeah. This is when Kaal meets Rowan for the first time as well.
Yep.
And I have a note. I wrote, Kaal meets Rowan. I hope Kaal rots in hell.
Oh, shit. That was not in our collective notes.
It is.
In our collective notes, you just wrote, no. In our collective notes, it just says, Kale meets Rowan.
You see the highlight? Hover over that. A comment
is
associated with it.
I can't do that on my...
Click on it.
I hope Kale rots in hell for blaming Aelin for what is ultimately his fault. Guys, she gets it now. She understands. I am marking that as resolved. Great.
Perfect.
Perfect. Fantastic. Approved. Yeah. They meet, and Aelin goes, you know he won't bite.
He doesn't actually know that.
No. He probably does bite. He would bite Kale's head off. Then I'd be okay with it.
She calls him here mostly to tell him about the wagons and asks if he's going to ambush them. He goes, of course I am.
Yeah. They trade some information about, like, the sewers aren't safe anymore. Mm-hmm. The people trapped down there, they found nests, but no signs of the prisoners. Mm-hmm. So, like, just the sewers aren't a place that they can kind of use to get around anymore. They've been overtaken.
Yeah. He also questions her about the tower, like, why haven't you broken through the tower? And she goes, it's been 3 fucking days. What do you mean? Adian's been...
I got shit to do.
There's a lot of things that you, like, I gotta do all of the things. I can't just do the one thing for you, Kale. It's all happening. Similar to fucking Arabin, where he's like, give me the thing. I helped you do the thing. Get me a thing. And she's like, it's been 7 full days. I just rescued a man from the glass castle. I'm also trying to chase these Vogue down to get one for Arabin. I'm also trying to make sure that these prisoners don't die. So I'm giving you information. I'm also trying to, like, see if my cousin's going to be fine enough to not, fall apart in any first battle. So, like, maybe give me more than a week to, like, if I'm going to blow up a fucking tower. Thanks. Can I have just 1 week?
Yeah.
To figure shit out. You could have blown up the tower while I was gone. If that's the case.
She also tells him to tell Nesrin thank you for the clothes that she brought for Rowan. And Kale's like, what? Like, had no idea that she had brought him clothes. Nesrin had told him they'd spent the evening with Adian and Aelin, that she'd spent the evening with Adian and Aelin, but he hadn't realized they might be friends. He hadn't considered that Nesrin might wind up unable to resist the allure of Aelin Galathinius. Though he supposed that Aelin was a queen, she did not falter. She did not do anything but plow ahead, burning bright, even if it meant killing Dorian. They hadn't spoken of it since the day of Adian's rescue, but it still hung between them. And when she went to free magic, Chaol would again have proper precautions in place, because he did not think she would put her sword down the next time. What the fuck does that mean?
I wrote, what the fuck do you mean, Chaol? Fucking Chaol. The fuck are you gonna do now to ruin shit? They're gonna do a rescue mission, probably. They're gonna do something and bring magic back, and then he's gonna...
Proper precautions in place is not a phrasing I like.
Nope. She also gives him the information about the wagons, about there being word marks to lock the wagons. And he's like, oh, of course she knew, because she also traveled in these from Endovir. And it's like at 1 second where he's like, oh, that's right. She's not a piece of shit. I am.
2 seconds of sympathy and then goes back to thinking she's a piece of shit again. Yeah.
Yep.
He's a really dynamic character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Chaol leaves and then goes and does Chaol things.
Unfortunately, he comes back again. It'd be really great if he just never came.
Yeah, he has
to. But then who would we have to be angry at?
Yeah. We need someone to be mad at. Chaol fits the bill very well.
True.
Currently.
We're mad at him because his decisions annoy the shit out of us. Not that they're necessarily the decisions of a bad person.
No, he's still
which
an
is why
asshole.
he's more frustrating.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you can
Like,
do
we
better.
hate the King of Otterlin.
I don't
but
expect more from the King of Otterlin or Parrington or Arabin.
No, I expect more
Please.
of Kale, who I actually enjoyed at some point in time.
It's painful.
So, Kale leaves. Aelin then wants to show Rowan kind of her stomping grounds, which I think is very sweet. She's like, I want you to see Rifthold, even if we have to do it, like, kind of cloaked. And so they go through kind of these areas. There's no sign of Lorcan. They're kind of, like, looking for that, but also she wants to just show him
the city.
Yeah.
They go through a market and they see, like, a woman selling flowers, and they have this nice moment of, like, him saying that he didn't deserve his wife, and she
His mate.
is saying, and she's saying that she didn't deserve Sam.
And then she, of course, grabs him and says, come, I want to show you something. And she brings him to the theater, where she, like,
sweet.
Loved art and music.
Is, like, the most happy.
Yes. And she tells him...
she gets to, like, experience the music.
Yeah. She tells him about the song that she would come and listen to, and that she learned how to play it, but hasn't done it in a long time. And he, of course, asks, is there a pianoforte in here? And there is. And so she plays for him. And it's so sweet. And wonderful. And I love it. Ugh, it's so good. I haven't played since before Nehemia died. There might not be another day. And I would consider my life very sad indeed if I never played again. So she plays.
I think it's so sweet that she's not played since Nehemia died, but she plays because he asks her to. It's precious. She brought the piece home to its final explosive triumphant chord. When she looked up, panting slightly, Rowan's eyes were lined with silver, his throat bobbing. Somehow, after all this time, her warrior prance still managed to surprise her. He seemed to struggle for words, but he finally breathed, show me how you did that. She obliged him. They spent the better part of an hour seated together on the bench, Aelin teaching him the basics of the pianoforte. When they heard someone at last come to investigate the music, they slipped out. She stops at the bank real quick on the way back, and he's like, are you using your money to support all of this? And she's like, for now. She's like, and what will you do for money later? She glanced sidelong at him. It'll be taken care of. By whom? Me. Explain. You'll find out soon enough. She gave him a little smile that she knew drove him insane.
Foreshadowing. She nearly sighed with relief as he said, I've never seen an orchestra or a theater like this, crafted around sound and luxury. Even in Doranel, the theaters and amphitheaters are ancient, with benches or just steps. There's no place like this anywhere, perhaps, even in Terrasen. Then you'll have to build one. With what money? You think people are going to be happy to starve while I build a theater for my own pleasure? Perhaps not right away, but if you believe one would benefit the city, the country, then do it. Artists are essential. This place has been shut down for months, and yet I swear I can still hear music floating in the air. Rowan angled his head, studying the dark with those immortal senses. Perhaps the music does live on in some way.
It's so cute.
I think there's a point in Heir of Fire where he really focuses on music, and I think music plays a big part in his life, his past life, and he just hasn't admitted that part of him yet, because he's a Fae male, and he's been around for a while, so I have a feeling it's going to come back that she's not the only one that just, like, loves music based off that conversation. That's my theory.
That's your theory?
My theory
It's
is
a good
that
theory.
there's something in Rowan's background that ties him heavily to music as well. Because he talked about it when they were working through, like, their powers. And he's like, let the music, like, flow through you and, like, be a part of you. And she talks about him humming music when he was using his powers. Just, there's music. And I don't know if it's a parent had artist tendencies or something in his background. Now I just want to know so much about Rowan. That's all I care about. Fuck Kale. Now we have to go talk about Kale. Because Kale's next. And I just want to talk about Rowan only ever.
Do you understand now? Okay?
Yeah,
Do you understand?
I don't even think I have a highlight in this section because fuck Kale. I wrote, this is my notes. Kale saved the prisoners headed to Morath. Aelin sneaks out while everyone sleeps. Next.
That's it.
That's all
Moving
that
on.
happens. Cool. Next. Fuck Kale. He saves the prisoners. Great. Cool. He did a good thing, I guess.
The only other thing that happens in here, which I will bring up, is once again, Nezrin puts him in his place.
We love Nezrin.
Because he goes over, he hangs out with her, feeling sorry for himself, and she says, I thought we were friends. She said, we are friends, he said carefully. Friends don't spend time with each other only when they're feeling sorry for themselves, or bite off each other's heads for asking difficult questions. Now we can move on. Good job,
We
Nezrin.
love Nezrin. I think that works. That sums up Kale's an idiot. Cool.
Kale's an idiot.
Okay. So, she knows that Lorcan has been tracking her. And so she maybe kind of follows a couple commanders into the sewers while he's following her. And then she causes a stir and gets them to kind of look in her direction while she sneaks out of a little side grate thing.
Like, puts a cloak down in the middle of, like, where they're gonna end up. And Lorcan just walks
right into
a bunch
word
of
pound and commanders.
So good.
So she just pretty much baits him into the Volg nest. And as she scurries away, she hears a lot of commotion, and he slaughters them all, which is kind of cool. We know that they can die now, which is nice. That's fun.
I love the language though. Aelin merely sauntered down the street whistling to herself. Unfortunately, Lorcan doesn't die to the Volg commanders. He kills them. He makes it out. And then he tracks her down, pretty pissed. Like, slams her up against a wall. And she was kind of laughing. He goes, you think that's funny? It was worth a shot, wasn't it? He says, I'm going to kill you. About that, she said, and shifted her wrist just enough for him to feel the blade she flicked free in the moment before she'd sensed his attack, the steel now resting against his groin. Immortality seems a little long to go without your favorite body part. So Rowan shows up to kind of back up Aelin, and Rowan, like, holds a knife to Lorcan's throat and says, start talking. And he reveals to Rowan and Aelin that if Lorcan dies, Maeve will offer aid to the King of Otterlin against them. And they're both like, bullshit. Like, why would she do that? He's, like, really, really bad. Lorcan basically tells them that, like, Maeve is so pissed that she got, like, bested by them that she would.
I'll never forget not for one moment, what you did to him that day in Doranel. Your miserable existence is at the bottom of my priority list. But one day, Lorcan, one day I'll come to claim that debt too. Consider tonight a warning.
She's gonna kill him.
And Rowan's not too thrilled that she just went to try to take on, in his mind, try to take on Lorcan by herself She's like, well, that's not really what I was gonna do. I brought him here exactly as I planned to do, and you showed up exactly like I planned for you to show up, and you did it. Perfect.
This was my plan from the start.
It's like, I just didn't tell you about the plan. Next time you sneak out to pick a fight with Lorcan, you will tell me beforehand. I will do no such thing. It's my damn business. And it's not just your business, not anymore. You will take me along with you the next time. The next time I sneak out, she seethed. If I catch you following me like some overprotective nursemaid, I will... You'll what? He stepped up close enough to share breath with her, his fangs flashing. And then they talk through their bond. I believe it's a bond, so I'm going to just keep believing it's a bond because it's in italics and it's a bond. He could see hers as she silently said, I don't know what I'll do, you bastard, but I'll make your life a living hell for it. Stop being stubborn. Is this some attempt to cling to your independence? And so what if it is, she shot back. Just let me do these things on my own. I can't promise that, he said, the dim light caressing his tan skin. She punched him in the bicep, hurting herself more than him. Just because you're older and stronger doesn't mean you're entitled to order me around. It's exactly because of those things that I can do whatever I please. Brute.
Their dialogue
brat.
is just so good.
Did you really lure Lorcan into a sewer with one of those creatures? It was such an easy trap that I am actually disappointed he fell for it. Rowan chuckled. You never stop surprising me. He hurt you. I'm never going to forgive that. Plenty of people have hurt me. If you're going to go after everyone, you'll have a busy life ahead of you. She didn't smile. What he said about me getting old. Don't. Just don't start with that. Lorcan brings up that she's human. Or part human, at least. And that she's going to age. And of course, Rowan doesn't want to think about it because he's not. He's all Fae and is immortal. And will never age.
Yeah, he brings up that basically, like, he's throwing so much of his 500-year relationships, basically, to the dirt for someone who's possibly going to live for, like, 50 or 60 years.
We're going to breeze past that because she says something very funny, which I like a lot. And it's, I wouldn't put it past Lorcan to return the favor you dealt him tonight. He forgets and forgives even less easily than you do, especially when someone threatens to cut off his manhood. At least I said it would be a big mistake, she said with a fiendish grin. I was tempted to say little. Rowan laughed, his eyes dancing. Then you definitely would have been dead.
So they return to the, they return home, and the next bit that we get is Lysandra, once again, somehow sneaks up behind them without any of them noticing her presence until she's, like, right at the door speaking. And again, they all whip around with their weapons, and Aiden goes, how do you do that? What a miserable-looking meal, was all Lysandra said. Can't any of you cook? Breakfast, it seems, is the only meal any of us are decent at, and this one... she jabbed a thumb in Rowan's direction, only knows how to cook meat on a stick over a fire. This is when it's revealed that Lysandra is a shapeshifter.
Mm-hmm. And of course
says,
it's Rowan again.
Yep. Well,
he's just like...
Rowan knows. Lysandra says, I like your fangs. Aelin choked on her grape. Of course Lysandra did. Rowan gave a little grin that usually sent Aelin running. Are you studying them so you can replicate them when you take my form, shapeshifter? Bullshit, Adian said. This I love so much. One, because she does, there is a line, like, earlier in the book where when her and Aelin finally, like, become friends, and she's like, you and I are just beasts in human form. And I'm like, I remember reading that now the second time going through, and I did highlight it with, like, my green tabs of being like, you bitch, you are correct, because you literally are that. You are a shapeshifter. And it makes sense because, like, every time she shows up anywhere, it's like all of a sudden she just appears out of nowhere. So, like, she could have fucking crawled in as a mouse that none of them would have noticed and then shifted into her human form. But
she doesn't have her powers. Or at least it's gleamed that she doesn't have her
That's true. She
powers.
can't. But she is so sneaky that like
Yeah.
she wouldn't. You're right. She would not have shifted, but I don't know. It's like something about the fact that she does have that ability. She's just stealthy.
Wind.
Like she
Yeah.
knows how to get in and out of places. It's so cool.
All amusement had vanished from the courtesan's face. Shapeshifter. Holy gods. What was fire magic or wind and ice compared to shape-shifting? Shifters, spies and thieves and assassins able to demand any price for their services. The bane of courts across the world. So feared that they'd been hunted nearly to extinction even before Otterlin had banned magic. Perhaps I'm just studying you to know where to sink my fangs in if I ever get my gifts back. Hee hee hee. It explains so much. You and I are nothing but beasts wearing human skins.
And like Arabin doesn't know.
Nobody
The other
knows.
thing that's sweet is like Lysandra looks at Aelin and is like, say something. Like wants to know that like they're still friends. We find out that the form that she's in now isn't even her true form. And she doesn't remember what her true form is. Like the form that she even knows of would be like hers as like a young girl.
Kid. Yeah.
Yeah, like before magic was banned. So like she doesn't even know what she would look like at this point as an adult. She found out when she was like really young and she did it completely on accident and her mom kicked her out of the house because of it.
Saying that, will she not age? Because she's shape-shifted into this person. Does that person she's shape-shifted in to age, or is it part of her shifting that ages?
I don't know. I'm not, like, I don't remember, and I don't know how the shape-shifting works. Because I'm not sure if it's, like, can you shape-shift into... I don't know.
Anyway, another question, of course.
It could be, like, I mean, she's not Fae, though. I don't know. Shapeshifters are different.
But she has magic in some way.
A shapeshifter would make a powerful ally and an even more entertaining friend. It's so sweet. Lysandra asks if magic is free again. Would you be wary of a shapeshifter? So carefully phrased, so casually asked, as if it weren't the most important question of all. Aelin shrugged and gave her the truth. I'd be jealous of a shapeshifter. Shifting into any form I please would come in rather handy. She considered it. A shapeshifter would make a powerful ally and an even more entertaining friend. Rowan asks, did you have a favorite form? Lysandra's grin was nothing short of wicked. I liked anything with claws and big, big fangs. Yeah.
Lysandra also came here, like, there's a purpose she's here. She came to deliver a little box to Aelin, and she also is here to warn her a bit. Part of that warning is that Arabin is going to call in your favor tomorrow to be delivered the following night, so be ready. So it's like, I found out today, I'm letting you know that tomorrow he's going to be like, hey, you need to come to the following night with my Volg, please. Thank you.
Yep.
And so then Lysandra leaves and Aelin walks her to her carriage and they have a little heart-to-heart, which is great because we love them together.
Mm-hmm.
And during this heart-to-heart, it is decided, sort of, it's been in the works, but it's decided that Aelin is going to attempt to kill Arabin after the dinner that he invites them to. So pretty much she is to deliver the Volg commander and they're going to have dinner afterwards because it's always a power move and that is how Arabin wants it to be, and he wants them to be dressed to the nines, which is great. Wonderful. We love that. But they have a heart-to-heart of Lysandra asking if she's ready, if she is is she scared? Is she ready for the risk that's coming? And they pretty much say that they're willing to do this for each other. Would you do it if you could about 2 nights from now? Like, I would.
Yeah.
I've thought about it every single day.
They don't talk specifically about who's going to do it. They kind of like do like a, if you want to, that's cool, but if you don't want to, like, I can do it. It's fine. Lysandra says, I would do it, and gladly, but I don't mind if you would do it. You won't hesitate. I find that comforting somehow. Yes,
we love
murder.
Lysandra. Murder.
So, before we get to the next bit, yeah, because this will make me angry, and I'm gonna put that off just another second before we get real grossed out and angry. Is this when you had texted me and said, I think everything's gonna go terribly wrong. I hope that everything works out the way that it's going to.
Yes. So, I thought, because we are in part 1, that Arobynn wouldn't die. That was my concern. Was that they were going to try to kill him and he wouldn't die. So yes, this is about that.
Because we had a conversation. I was like, you don't think he's gonna die, and I was like, is it because you think it's too easy that he would die this early in the book? Because she does this. It's a very, very Sarah J. Maas thing to do, to be like, oh yeah, we got a plan in place. Things are gonna happen. We're gonna do the thing, and then he's gonna die. And then she's like, haha, just kidding. Get wrecked. Never mind. Everything's still shit.
Yes.
That's great.
This was the moment that I thought...
You were like, bullshit. There's no way this is gonna work.
Yeah.
We don't get happiness and joy.
Nope. Not allowed.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. Things are gonna get real gross.
Yeah. We're gonna
An
not
invitation
like
arrives.
More. And so...
Yeah.
It was the invitation that arrived. Go ahead.
Yeah. An invitation arrives the next morning, basically, as Lysandra had told them it's coming. And it's a letter inviting them to dinner tomorrow and a request for the favor owed to him. And it says, there was a note at the end of the invitation in an elegant yet efficient scrawl, a gift, and one I hope you'll wear tomorrow night.
When I first read that, I thought he sent a dress. And I was like, it's going to be like super revealing. Like,
oh, it's worse.
Power move dress. And then it just got so much worse. Because I was like, ugh, gross. He's going to make her wear a dress that's super low cut and like open and all revealing. And nope, it's worse.
No, it's somehow worse than that. He sends her a perfumed skin oil of his favorite scent, which is almonds.
Isn't it his scent? Like a scent that he wears?
It's his scent, but I think that's like the point of, I don't know if it's the one that he wears or if it's like his favorite scent that he always has like around. Either way, it is described as his scent. She'd have to rub it into her skin. She told herself that she expected nothing less. It's so gross.
And you're going to use it, Adian spat. Tomorrow, our one goal is to get the amulet of Orinth from him. Agreeing to wear that oil will put him on unsure footing. I don't follow. The invitation is a threat, Rowan replied. 2 companions. He knows how many of us are here. Knows who you are. And you, Adian asked. He's probably figured out by now that I'm Fae.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to go hunt.
Now they have to go find the Vogue because they have to go to dinner tomorrow with the Vogue. Or it's like all been for nothing.
Yep. Pretty much. So as part of them looking for a Vogue commander, they go back to the sewers and they go to where she had placed this trap for Lorcan. And she sees all of them dead, including the word hound. Lorcan doesn't pull punches, does he? She said, studying the reeking, blood-splattered sewer crossroads. There was hardly anything left of the Vol captains, or the word hound. In a matter of moments, Lorcan had massacred them all, as if they were chattel, gods above. Lorcan probably spent the entire fight imagining each of those creatures was you, Rowan said. The stone skin seems like armor, but inside it's just flesh. He sniffed. Disgusting. Good, and thank you, Lorcan, for finding that out for us. She strode to Rowan, taking the heavy arm from him, and waved at the prince with the creature's stiff fingers. Stop that, he hissed. She wiggled the demon's fingers a bit more. It'd make a good back scratcher. Rowan only frowned. Killjoy.
So good. My goodness.
Pretty much, she gives him the information of, these are the king's puppets. He somehow was talking through them. I don't really know what they are. But I do know now that Lorcan's going to be a bit distracted because they are going to mark him and they're going to come for him because that's what they do. They find one person or thing that is really going to hinder them and they go after it. It's kind of why that she learned all this stuff at the very beginning when she had them track her to the vaults. So she knows that's how they work. And that was all the plan. Like, she needed Lorcan to be distracted.
Yeah, she knew that this was coming, that she would have to go and find a Vogue and go do the, like, have to deal with Arabin. So she was able to get Lorcan out of the city for, like, the next night and tomorrow night so that he would be focused on having to deal with the Vogue chasing after him. And this is when she basically tells, actually lets Rowan in on her plans for, like, one tiny little snippet, because she keeps everything to herself.
I needed Lorcan's eyes elsewhere tonight and tomorrow. I needed to know whether these wordhounds could be killed. Why? He saw too much. Slowly she met his gaze. Because I'm going to use their beloved sewer entrance to get into the castle and blow up the clock tower from right under them. That's how you're going to free magic. Once Lorcan kills the last of the wordhounds, you're going in. He really should have killed me, considering the world of trouble that's now hunting him through the city. Rowan bared his teeth in a feral smile. He had it coming.
He did. So they're able to capture a Vogue commander, and they take it to, like, an abandoned building to, like, interrogate it before they decide to, like, bring it to Arabin, because they know that they know that Arabin wants him to, like, interrogate it and find out what they can. And I think that Aelin also is kind of using this to try to see if there's a possibility that she like, is there anything that she can learn from him to help with Dorian?
Yeah. She still wants to save Dorian, even if she doesn't necessarily believe he can be saved.
And it's the conversation that they have, like, they swap back and forth. I don't know. It's probably, maybe this Vogue is just, like, not as powerful as the one that's in Dorian. Because
she makes a point. She captures one that isn't the head of a commander group, but is, like, a lesser Vogue.
So, like, it's assumed that Dorian has one of, like, the Vogue princes in him, like, one of the very, very powerful ones, and that there are lesser Vogue that aren't as powerful, and then, like, those guys have, I guess, more of a chance to fight back. So Dorian's super trapped in his mind, can't get anything out, but this guy is able to kind of, like, fight in to be able to, like, talk to them, and then the demon will kind of come back out.
Yeah, it's like a little bounce back and forth.
Yeah. So they talk about the rings. The guy, he says, like, I'm not a demon, and Aelin says, then what's the ring for? And he says, to enslave, to corrupt us. She asks for, Rowan asks for the Vogue's name, and they say you can't pronounce it. It's not for your human tongues. And then the human's able to, like, battle back and say his name is Stevan. And he's from Melisande, which is so sad. All of his family is dead, and she asks if he's able to take off the ring, and the Vogue says never. And she says, "Can you come back, Stevan, if the ring is gone?" A shudder that left his head hanging between his shoulders. "I don't want to, even if I could." "Why?" The things I did, we did. And the demon comes back and says, he liked to watch while I took them, while I ripped them apart. Aelin asks to hear more about the Vogue princes. And the demon says they are darkness, they are glory, they are eternal. And she's able to confirm that one of the Vogue princes is inhabiting the crown prince's body. And tries to get information about if the prince is still in there. But, like, the demon and the human, like, don't know. But the demon does say the prince will have broken him, used him, and taken him. And then the man just begs for death.
She, of course, gets mad and says, you gave yourself to it. Like, you didn't fight enough against it. And he said, I had no choice. They came to our homes, our families. They said the rings were part of the uniform, so we had to wear them.
She offers him death, but in exchange for something. And he says, anything, please. She looked at his hand, at his ring, and reached into her pocket. Then listened carefully. And then we go talk about other stuff.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yep.
My two favorite things to say through this entire series are fuck you, Kale, and thanks, Sarah. Sarcastically. Because both of these things are causing me the most anxiety and stress.
So now they have a Vogue commander.
Yes.
And he's kind of tucked away in the warehouse. And Aelin has some plan that we don't know about. Aelin has a nightmare, though, and she sneaks out.
Because what does she do when she is sad or depressed or scared? She goes and tries to find trouble. So great. Good traits.
She has a flashback of when she was face-to-face with Dorian/Demon. Dorian... The Vogue Prince had used Dorian's mouth like a puppet. I will destroy everything that you love. A promise. But she had one last thing to do tonight, so she withdrew her hand, and this time he didn't wake when she crept out of the room. Intentional. She intentionally woke him up last time.
Yeah.
That's why
intentionally creeps out without him knowing this time.
Yeah. She knows better. It was pretty much... that's all we get. She leaves. She has something to do and she leaves. She doesn't tell us. We don't know. So here we are. Great. So she shows back and Rowan is like, you smell like ash. Where you been? I had things to do. You were stealthier this time. This wasn't particularly high risk. Lie, 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 lie. She'd just been lucky. And I suppose you're not going to tell me until you want to? Don't get pissy because I out-stealthed you. It's not a joke. I know. Aelin, she was already asleep. Rowan's not thrilled. Rowan sensed dust, metal, smoke, and sweat on her clothes. So he's like, she didn't just like go out for a stroll. She did something. But then he noticed that she was in an oversized t-shirt and it was his shirt. So all his anger goes like, it flies away.
He gets very distracted very easily.
You're like, wow, you were just mad about her going and almost dying, but you don't actually know she almost died. We don't know if she almost dies. He just assumes. And then, of course, it goes out the window the second. I wrote his shirt, and I put a little eyes emoji. She comes back out. He's still not thrilled with her at the moment. He's making breakfast. And she's like, can we not get into a fight about this before my first cup of tea? And then he goes, after tea then? Because he's like, I'm gonna fight with you about this. And it's gonna happen. I can give you 20 minutes. Have some tea. And then she says, I need you to come with me somewhere. And she takes Rowan to visit Sam's grave. And she places her favorite stones. 2 years for them being together and 1 year without. Or vice versa. I don't remember. She places a number of stones on his grave.
Yeah.
And before they leave, so Rowan kind of stands back and she talks to Sam, of course. And she tells him that she misses him. Then Rowan held out his hand, not to take hers, but for a stone. She opened her fist. He sorted through the pebbles until he found one, smooth and round, the size of a hummingbird's egg. With a gentleness that cracked her heart, he set it on the headstone before her pebbles. Rowan puts one down, too.
I know. It's so...
like to say thank you.
He's so perfect.
And that's when he realizes, you're going to kill Arabin tonight, aren't you? After dinner, when he's gone to bed. I'm going back to the keep, and I'm ending it. An endgame, but also a distraction. She looked back at the gravestone, at the grass concealing the coffin beneath. I have no choice but to be ready. She's gonna get her revenge.
She's also gonna get the amulet.
Hell yeah.
Which is one of the whole reasons that she goes back to talk to Arabin in the first place. It's because she has to go get the amulet from Arabin.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
There's so many things. There's so many things.
Okay. We're back with a lead and her mission to the dungeons. So she spends like 2 days basically trying to like infiltrate the kitchen to be able to do the poison so that she can get her master plan going. And basically what she does is she uses the poison not to kill anybody. Unfortunately, could have killed Parrington maybe, or anybody else that was terrible in that place. Nope. She poisons the laundry people just enough that they're all sick and can't work, and then goes down there to be like, oh, I'll volunteer to help. Do you want me to go take the laundry down to where the like witches are or whatever? I can do that. And they're like, sure, yeah, that sounds great. Go take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. You're so helpful. She goes down there and basically like falls, fakes an injury to buy herself time to be able to like see what's going on in there. And
sorry, I'm laughing because I need to touch on a line that is just before she actually makes it. In there.
Ahead. What is it?
Our favorite description by Sarah. Alid's bowels had turned to water by the time she reached the guards. I read that and I went,
you stopped my description for that?
Bowels.
I hate it. I think that I blocked it out each time that I read it because I didn't even.
I didn't. It was in my brain and I went, fucking watery bowels.
It really
God
is
damn
there,
it,
right
Sarah.
At the top.
Yep.
The lead's bowels had turned watery by the time she reached the guards. God fucking damn it.
Yep. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm so glad we stopped for that. So happy. Anyways, she is able to see what was going on in there. And apparently it's so bad that she had, like, basically crawled into a ball, like, had made it out from down there and just, like, crawled into a ball and just started, like, having a full breakdown. Like,
Yeah, she was like
can't stop throwing
vomiting
up.
and
Can't stop throwing up, like, shaking, and they're all like, come on, get out with it. Like, let's go. You got to give us the information. They are, like, completely trapped down there. They've already, it basically says they've already had one set of children, and they are about to deliver again. Like,
or at least this one that she
this
saw.
one group or whatever that's been in there. And whatever they birthed are not witchlings. They are not babies, Alid splat, covering her face with her hands as if to rip out her eyes. They are creatures. They are demons. Their skin is like black diamond, and they have these snouts with teeth, fangs. Already, they have fangs. Not like yours, she lowered her hands. They have teeth of black stone. There is nothing of you in them. What of the yellow legs? They have them chained to tables, altars, and they were sobbing. They were begging the men to let them go. But they're so close to giving birth, and then I ran. I ran from there as fast as I could. And oh gods, Alid began weeping. Asterin loses her fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
She
honestly,
absolutely
rightfully
freaks
so.
out. Yeah, no, 100%. And she says, you let them do this. Manon's nails flicked out. These are my orders. This is our task. This is an abomination, Asterin shouted. And, like, Sorrel basically has to, like, try to break the two of them up because as her second, like, she has to protect her wing leader. Mm-hmm. But Asterin just is screaming at her. You gave him those witches. You gave him witches. And Manon, like, I don't get it.
Yeah, she pretty much, like, this is where she puts her, like, foot down and says, like, I'm not doing it. She doesn't say it, but, like, Asterin is pretty much like, you're not going to do anything to help, like, save them.
She realizes, like, now that Asterin is like, there's no way that you can hide against, like, the truth of what they're doing to them, and Manon still won't do anything. And Asterin, like, strikes out at her and draws blood from Manon, which would mean that Asterin is, like, has to die. She chooses not to kill her, but also orders her not to free them.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much says, like, don't do anything stupid. She's also... I think Manon she's a little, like, scared of what is going on too. She doesn't want her 13 to go down there and get themselves all killed. It's not like they could just ride their wyverns into the dungeons. Just, like, creep down the little hallways with giant winged beasts to, like, deal with it.
I don't know.
But there's also, like, well, like
to
you
do
said,
nothing though.
She was
crazy.
supposed to, like, if you think about it, Manon has been, like, following the, like, law and order of the witches, and she's, like, reprimanding her. If she really followed the law and order of the witches, she would have killed Asterin for that. Instead, she just demotes her again and pretty much says, like, you are now my fourth, not my third anymore. I don't know. I think there's still something in Manon that's, like, she keeps writing letters to her grandmother, and her grandmother is not responding. And she's, like, in this, like, balance of, my grandmother said if I step out of line, we're all dead. If they go to try to save them, we are all dead because I'm not going to just, like, stand back. I will help my 13. So she's like, I keep sending letters to my grandmother to be like, you know what they're doing? Like, there's no way you know what they're doing. But has not heard anything back. And I think that's a big point in this, is that I think it's Sorrel that says it. She says it later, maybe. Oh, I don't remember. Someone along the lines of says, like, has your grandmother even written back to you? Like, all these letters. I don't remember where it is. It could be a little bit before that, where, like, they're questioning it, but...
Yeah. Probably.
And I was just like, nope.
Other than that one letter that she sent that was like, you will follow their directions. Like, she has not heard back from her since.
Yeah.
She ends up, like, after like Sorrel kind of takes Astrid away to make sure that she doesn't do anything stupid. She ends up letting Alid, like, fix her up because Astrid got her. And Alid asks, "Is your broken kingdom worth it?" And she says, "I do not expect a human to understand what it's like to be an immortal with no homeland, to be cursed with eternal exile." Alid said, "My kingdom was conquered by the king of Otterland, and everyone I loved was executed. My father's lands and my title were stolen from me by my uncle, and my best chance of safety now lies in sailing to the other end of the world. I understand what it's like to wish, to hope. It's not hope, it's survival." So, their conversation is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the times too that Alid, like, finally starts to have a backbone and be like, what is the point of this? Why is this worth it? Just to get your homeland back? If by the time you get to your homeland, like, none of the people around you are people worth being around.
And once you get there, what if they're strong, they're just going to come conquer you again? Like, who's to say they're not going to just take it back again? She also brings up Aelin to Manon.
She does.
In this. And Manon says, "If this Aelin Galathinius were indeed alive, would you try to run to her, fight with her? I would fight with tooth and claw to get to her. But there are lines I would not cross, because I don't think I could face her if I couldn't face myself for what I'd done." Manon said nothing. Alid stepped away, heading to the bathing room to wash her hands. The wink later said from behind her, "Do you believe monsters are born or made?" From what she'd seen today, she would say some creatures were very much born evil. But what Manon was asking, "I'm not the one who needs to answer that question," Alid said. Yeah, no shit. Manon, get your shit together. You were given the best wyvern.
You have a Braxos. Get your shit together.
Is a softie. I need you to just take a little bit of his insight. Just, care. Just a little. Pretend to care. Just a little bit. Please.
I also think that it's beautiful that she says that for 10 years she endured Vernon for the hope that Aelin lived.
So that her mother would not have died in vain.
So beautiful. I thought that one day Aelin would come to save me, would remember I existed and rescued me from that tower. Even though she never came, even though I'm here now, I can't let go of that.
And
that's the last of the witches for this
wraps up
first half of the book.
Yeah, that wraps up our witch time. And now we have some shit to do.
Now
and
shit's
we have
going
to go deal with
off the
Arabin.
hook.
Yeah. I would say instead of Sarah likes to do the last 100 pages to be really up in the air. I would say this is the last 50 pages. It really shit hits the fan real quick.
Yeah. So, I feel like the last 100 pages is a big thing in ACOTAR, and it's still a thing in the Throne of Glass series, but I'd say that it's instead of the end of the book being the last 100 pages, it's the last 50 pages of each part.
Yeah.
Every time you get towards the end of a part one, and then you get to the end of the book, it's those last 50 pages are
here's a wrench.
Okay, we're gonna beat the shit out of you now. Great.
So Rowan, Adian, and Aelin are preparing to head to Arabin's and the Assassin's Keep. And part of that is Aelin is standing in her bathing room and she needs to cover herself in this oil.
Yuck.
What I do really love is that Rowan knows. Rowan knows that he chose that scent, his scent, because he knows that he's Fae. Rowan also asked through the door. Aelin, Rowan said through the door. I'm fine, she said. Only a few more hours and then everything would change. This whole section, I just love it so much. Rowan, of course, him and Arabin have kind of a heart-to-heart. Not Arabin. Him and Adian have a little heart. There's too many A names. It really throws my fucking brain off.
Aelin, Adian, Arabin.
Yeah, too many. Okay. Adian and Rowan have a heart-to-heart. Not Arabin, because fuck that guy.
That would have been gross.
Adian asks, she's going to kill him tonight, isn't she? After the dinner and whatever Arabin plans to do with the Vol commander, she's going to circle back and put him down. I love this part. I love all of it, let's be honest. Only a fool would think Adian's grin sprang from amusement. That's my girl. And if she decides to spare him, it's her decision to make. Smart answer. What if she were to say we could take care of it? Then I'd hope you'd join me for a hunt, Prince.
Yeah.
Another smart answer, and what he'd been waiting to hear. Rowan said, and then when the time comes. You took the blood oath, Adian said, and there wasn't any hint of a challenge in his eyes. Only the truth. Spoken warrior to warrior. I get Arabin's killing blow. Fair enough. Primal wrath flickered in Adian's face. It's not going to be quick, and it's not going to be clean. That man has many, many debts to pay before he meets his end. So, in case Aelin decides she can't do it and says, you two can do it, they're like, hell yeah, we're going to do it. Let's go.
Just so we're clear, let's figure out our plan.
We're gonna together.
I also like how Adian's like, you got the blood oath, I get this one. This is mine.
I get this.
This one's mine.
Mm-hmm.
She comes out ready to go to dinner.
And she's wearing the dress.
And Rowan turns around and he went completely and utterly still as he took in the dress. The burning weight of Rowan's attention upon her, she turned to show them the back, the roaring dragon clawing up her body. She looked over her shoulder in time to see Rowan's eyes again slide south and linger. Slowly his gaze lifted to hers. She could have sworn that hunger, ravenous hunger, flickered there. Demons and dining, Adian said, clapping Rowan on the shoulder. We should go. You said you wanted to see me in this dress, she said a bit hoarsely. I hadn't realized the effect would be so. He shook his head. He looked her in the face, her hair, the combs. You look like a queen? The fire-breathing bitch queen those bastards claim you are. Yeah! She also says that he looks good, too.
Of course they sass each other, too. So, like, they go through this, like, oh my god, they definitely have the hots for each other. And then... Yep. Apparently, we both clean up well. She gave him a sly grin. Don't forget your cloak. You'd feel rather guilty when all those poor mortal women combust at the sight of you. I'd say likewise, but I think you'd enjoy seeing men bursting into flames as you strutted by.
Yeah.
She winked at him, and his chuckle echoed through her bones and blood. I'm giddy. I love him.
I know. It's so good.
Just so much happens. It's so good.
I know. There's so many things.
So they get to the Assassin's Keep.
Mm-hmm.
They arrive in a carriage, which is driven by Nezrin. Kael is on the rooftop across the way as, like, additional protection.
Yep.
As if Arabin doesn't know. Whatever. Adian gets out of the wagon and pulls out the Vogue commander while Rowan and Aelin walk up to the front doors.
Mm-hmm.
There is one thing that I think is very important in this section. Right now, she's not really Aelin. She is like very much pulling on some of her Celaena so that she can meet Arabin halfway and really like give it to him, which I think is so fantastic because
she uses her assassin like mask and persona like very artfully constantly, and like she does it in the other books too. So like when she comes back when Nehemia dies and brings that guy's head into the throne room, like you could tell the change. Like she has a very specific persona that she uses when she's kind of acting like Celaena the assassin. And it is very different than Aelin. And she uses it here too. It's just so great. She's like very sassy and strong, just like everything that we love about her that she needs to be outwardly, and then is like soft and mushy and adorable with like Adian and Rowan.
Yeah. She does say to them, be on your guard and keep your fat mouths shut, especially with the Vol commander. No matter what you hear or see, just keep your fat mouth shut. No psychotic territorial bullshit.
Hee
Adian chuckled. Remind me to tell you tomorrow how charming you are. Of course, Arabin answers the door and says, welcome home.
And they bring the Vogue right through the front door.
Yep.
And he's like, that could have been taken through the service entrance. Thank you. She's like, I don't give a shit.
She's like, I don't care. I'm bringing this to you anyway. Your favor. Here you go. You look well, she said. I suppose you already know my companions.
He tells her she smells divine. Gross. He meets the general and Adian. And then he meets Rowan. And he says, you can call me Rowan. That's all you need to know. He cocked his head to the side, a predator assessing prey. Thank you for the oil, he added. My skin was a little dry. Arabin blinked, as much surprise as he'd show. It took her a moment to process what Rowan had said and to realize that the almond smell hadn't just been coming from her. He'd worn it too. It's so good. Thanks for the oil. My skin was dry. So good.
I love him.
He'd never specified that only you had to wear it. What? She shook her head again. Surprise me sometimes. Good. I'd hate for you to get bored. They're so cute. It hurts.
I love them so much.
It hurts so much.
If Rowan pulls some kale shit, I'm gonna unalive myself.
No! You can't.
Fuck. Now I'm scared.
Just kidding. Just stop reading now. Don't worry. You don't need these anymore.
Just throw the books away.
Oh god, all my lights changed. It's foreshadowing. Oh my god, I gotta fix my lights.
Oh. There is a note that as they're entering the building, so they bring the Bald commander in. Arabin is trying to like make conversation with Adian, and he's like, just take this fucking thing. Like, I don't want to be near it anymore. Like, and so he just like pushes past them, and Arabin is like, all right, come this way, I guess, and leads them to the dungeons, which is where they bring the Vol commander.
Yep.
And when they get there, of course, Rowan
Arabin's
notices
an asshole.
that Aelin is counting the rooms. Because, of course, he brings them directly to the room that Sam was in the last time she saw him. Because Arabin is a fucking prick. Um, Arabin then says, "Get out," and demands Adian and Rowan leave. So, fantastic.
So great. Tells them that Lysandra's waiting in the drawing room and goes and sends them to Lysandra.
Yep. Fantastic. Great.
And they leave so that Arabin and Celaena basically can interrogate the Vogue alone. He doesn't get a lot from the Vogue. He gets very specific information. So he finds out about the ring, but the Vogue also tells him that, like, blood is involved. Like, blood is needed to, like, actually be able to control the person who has the ring on. And then basically, like, that's all that he gets out of him. And then he, like, kills him and chops his finger off to get the ring.
And he chops his finger off before he kills him, too.
Yeah, well... Yeah,
and, of course,
true.
Aelin is like, you couldn't have done that after he was dead?
What would have been the fun in that? Lost your bloodlust? I'd dump that ring in the Aviary if I were you. The king is enslaving people to his will with these things. I plan to study this one the best I can. Of course he did. He pocketed the ring and inclined his head towards the door. Now that we're even, darling, shall we eat? So now they have dinner, like the whole group of them.
Mm-hmm. And it's awkwardly quiet.
It's awkwardly quiet. And it's even worse because the two of them start having a conversation to each other in their heads. And no one can hear them. So, like, Arabin asks them a question, and they're like, what? Their conversation is also fantastic.
Not with Arabin as their master. You're a rather quiet group, or has my protege scared you into silence? Adian, who had watched every bite she took of that soup, lifted an eyebrow. You want us to make small talk after you just interrogated and butchered a demon? Arabin waved a hand. I'd like to hear more about all of you.
He's so weird.
Yeah. So he goes on and telling stories, like you said. And
yeah,
Rowan
he tells stories about, like, Lysandra and her when they were young.
Yeah. And how they fought down the stairs, and that was, like, where the dent in the wall was, and he practically framed where she threw a dagger at Lysandra and missed.
Lysandra's head, yeah.
And Rowan, of course, is like, you really threw a dagger at her head? And this is all through their bond, by the way.
In their
bond that doesn't exist, but it exists in my brain. They have a bond, and they talk. It's fine.
It's never brought up specifically, but, like, they're talking to each other in their heads.
Yeah.
You can't have a conversation like this on looks alone, okay? They're having a conversation in their heads.
Yeah, every time leading up to, like, the longer ones, it's like, I could tell by his eyes that he wanted to say this. And it's like, no, bitch, it's because he's saying it into your fucking brain.
It definitely might have started like that.
Yeah,
and then
maybe.
Now they're having full-ass conversations. So we're past that point.
Yeah. So they have full-on conversation. And then Arabin, of course, they don't realize that he has stopped talking. And it has gone silent. And so, of course, Aelin goes, did you ask me something? Which I thought was very sassy and wonderful. Good. And then he asks, I asked if you've had fun these past few weeks, wrecking my investment properties and ensuring that all my clients won't touch me. So Arabin saw this little interaction, and he's jealous fuck. Because, he was jealous of Sam. Bitch. Of course he's going to be jealous of Rowan because he's fantastic. And so then we learn how Aelin fully sabotaged Arabin. And it's fantastic. And It's all the little things that she was sneaking out and doing while people slept or Adian was injured. Just little things she would do over time. It first started with the vaults. As we learned, she went there and destroyed it. It was all part of the plan to start wrecking his investments. and
Mm-hmm.
really just being a thorn in his side.
Yep.
Enough to annoy him, but not enough for him to really do much about it. Which I think
Yeah,
is
she wrecks the
fantastic.
vaults. The guy that she dresses up as to save Adian is someone that he was working with.
Mm-hmm. Cormac.
So good.
You deliberately disguised yourself as Hinsel Cormac, one of my most loyal clients and investors, when you freed your cousin. I could dismiss it as coincidence, except a witness says he called out Cormac's name at the prince's party and Cormac waved to him. The witness told the king that too, that he saw Cormac heading towards Adian right before the explosions happened. And what a coincidence that that very day Adian disappeared, 2 carriages belonging to a business that Cormac and I owned together went missing. Carriages. Cormac then told all my clients and partners that I used to get Adian to safety when I freed the general that day by impersonating him because I apparently have become a goddamn rebel sympathizer strutting about town at all hours of the day. She dared look at Rowan, those whose face remained carefully blank but saw the words there anyway. You wicked, clever fox. And here you were, thinking the red hair was just for vanity. I shall never doubt again.
So good.
I can't help it if your prissy clients turn on you at the slightest hint of danger. This is her very Celaena, like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just completely turn this and be like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't do that. Like, you're really, like, you think I'm better than I am. I don't know what you're saying.
What will it take, dearest, for you to stop being such a raging pain in my ass? She picked at her nails. A few things, I think.
Teehee.
So they go into one of the they go into like one of the other halls to kind of talk privately to like make their deal. And Rowan and Adian are basically told to stay outside.
Well, they're told to stay in the sitting room by Arabin, and that doesn't happen. So they creep down the hallway and they're like,
yeah.
They don't actually really have to do that. They don't have to. For audio listeners, I cup my hand against my ear as if I'm leaning against a door. They don't have to do that. They're fae, so like, you know, they can hear things, so it's fine.
He still tries to pretend like he doesn't deserve this. Mm-hmm. He says, this is a punishment for a crime I did not commit. Bullshit.
Debt. For what? For trying to free you from Endovier, and when that didn't work, I did the best I could. I bribed those guards and officials with money from my own coffers so that they wouldn't hurt you beyond repair. All the while, I tried to find ways to get you out for a year straight. No, you did not. You lying. Lies and truth, as he'd always taught her. Yes, he bribed the officials and the guards to ensure she would still be functioning when he eventually freed her. But Wesley's letter had explained in great detail how little effort Arabin had put forth once it became clear she was headed to Endovier. How he adjusted his plans, embracing the idea of her spirit being broken by the mines. I just like this idea of like truth and lies, lies and truth. Yep. It is exactly what he taught me. So she's like picking out the bits and working really. It's like she has to keep reminding herself everything because he's manipulating and trying to manipulate everything.
Because she knows the full truth now. So now she's just like letting him hang himself.
Yeah.
And just keep weaving his truth and lies. She asks about Sam. And he says that he was murdered by a sadist whom my useless bodyguard got into his head to kill, like referring to Wesley. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't let that go unpunished, not when we needed the new crime lord to continue working with us. Truth and lies, lies and truth. Tell me what I need to do to make you understand. Do you know why I had you capture that demon? So that we could attain its knowledge, so that you and I could take on the king, learn what he knows. Why do you think I let you in that room? Together we will bring that monster down together, before we're all wearing those rings. Your friend, the captain, can even join in, free of charge.
Together.
You expect me...
Ugh.
It's... You expect me to believe a word you say? I have had a long, long while to think on the wretched things I've done to you, Celaena. Aelin, she snapped. My name is Aelin, and you can start proving you've mended your ways by giving me back my family's goddamned amulet. Then you can prove it more by giving me your resources, by letting me use your men to get what I need. So she does tell him that she does want to take down the king. Mm-hmm. And if they do it, she's going to do it my way. And the captain and her court will stay out of it. She wants nothing to do with him.
Of course he tries to, like, blackmail her and be like, and what's in it for me? She's like, I won't tell the king that you're sabotaging everything. And you're the one killing all these Vol commanders. That shit doesn't wash off very easily. I'll point him right to the keep. I suppose it'll be a race to the palace then. It's too bad the captain has men stationed by the castle gates, messages in hand, ready for the signal to send them this very night. You'd have to get out of here alive to get that signal. To give that signal. The signal is us not returning, I'm afraid. All of us.
Uh-oh.
So, of course, Arobynn has to pivot. In his
he gives
thinking.
her the amulet.
Yes.
As a show of trust. As soon as she gets the amulet, she feels it. And she knows that it is the third word key.
Mm-hmm.
That she has had it, like, their entire lives. And that's one of the reasons that her family was, like, so powerful, is that they had the word key the whole time.
I read this when she gets it and he puts it around her neck. It says, not right. Her blood sang, her bones groaned. Not right, not right, not right. My brain went, what did he do with that ring and that necklace? And, like, how did he do some voodoo magic in his pocket and embed the ring in the necklace, and now she's going to be trapped? Because after this, she kept saying how it was, like, weighing on her and it was getting harder to move and walk. And I was like, oh God, what's happening? Bad things are happening. I don't like it here. I don't want to be here anymore. Nope, that's just the necklace and its power. It's just terrifying.
It's word stones. So, like, it makes sense because all of this stuff that's not right and smells bad and smells weird and blah, blah, blah is all coming from, like, this word stone magic. So it does make sense that it also will have this, like, not right feeling.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. It makes sense. I still genuinely thought that he somehow put the ring in the necklace, and then the necklace was now a thing to take her. Each step to the door was an effort of will as she forced herself not to think about the thing thudding between her breasts. If you betray us tonight, Arobynn, she added, pausing before the door, I'll make what was done to Sam seem like a mercy compared to what I do to you. Learned some new tricks these past few years, have you? She smirked, taking in the details of how he looked at this exact moment. The sheen of his red hair, his broad shoulders and narrow waist, the scars on his hands, and those silver eyes, so bright with challenge and triumph. They'd probably haunt her dreams until the day she died. One more thing, Arobynn said. It was an effort to lift a brow as he came close enough to kiss her, embrace her. But he just took her hand in his thumb caressing her palm. I'm going to enjoy having you back, he purred. Then faster than she can react, he slid the wordstone ring onto her finger. This is where I wrote, then slid the fucking ring on her hand? What the actual fuck? The hidden dagger.
The thing, yeah. He does the thing with the blood so that he can control her. He tells her to blink, and she blinks. He tells her to smile, and she does. He tells her to say, I love you, and she does. And tells him to say, his name when she tells him he loves him. She says, I love you, Arabin Hamel. He tells her to go home and sleep and not to tell anyone, not her friends, and to report back tomorrow because he has plans. He says, do you understand? And she says, yes. And then he sends her out to Rowan and Adian, who are having a collective panic attack. They can't actually do anything because they have to pretend like everything's chill and that they didn't hear everything that just happened. Mm-hmm. But they all, like, get in the carriage and, like, go back to the apartment, and they're just quietly seething, fully panicking. Mm-hmm. And they get back. Rowan didn't dare breathe as she just stood in the center of the room, a slave awaiting orders. Adian said, his voice hoarse. Aelin lifted her hands in front of her and turned. She pulled off the ring. So that was what he wanted. I expected something grander.
Fuck you, Sarah. Okay? Fuck you. All right? That's not nice. It's cruel, and it made me very sad and unhappy, all right? And I don't appreciate it.
What the fuck?
You
sent me the Snapchat you sent me. I was like, I'm so sorry. Okay? I had to let you suffer just like the rest of us. Okay?
I wrote in my notes, oh, thank God, Sarah, you can't fucking do this to my heart, Jesus. She explains everything to Adian. It was a test for Arabin to show his hand.
What the fuck?
What I thought was great, though, she pretty much was like, I learned from the best. I learned from you. Because it was Adian who had a fake ring to begin with the King of Otterlin. So then they move on.
Adian's like pissed that he didn't know. She's like, Rowan didn't even know until last night. He's like, is that supposed to make me feel better? And he's like, it is, considering the fight we had about it. So good. Oh, everything's fine, guys. Basically, she had like put gloves on the guy's hands and like made him think that it was the left hand and not the right hand that had the ring on it. Yeah. And she basically is like, he would have noticed if he had looked at the other hand but
he didn't.
He didn't have another finger on that hand.
Yeah. So Pretty much she cut off the finger that had the real ring on it. We don't know if the demon even existed anymore.
Yeah. It's hard to tell because they don't specifically say it, but I don't know. Let me go back and look, actually.
Because pretty much the commander, like the human body, the person, says that
there are
even
no
if I
italics.
Even if I could come back, I wouldn't want to. And she was like, I have a plan for you.
But there are no italics in the conversation that Arabin has with.
Yeah. And there are italics every time the demon is speaking through these people.
Because that is what Aelin gives him. Like when Aelin had said, like, what would you do if I gave you death? And this is kind of what he agreed to do, is to do this.
It's why she turns away when he actually kills him. Mm-hmm. Because she still feels bad. I think at that point, the demon is no longer inside of him because she cut off his finger.
True. He's very weak compared to the other one, though.
Yes. The demon was very weak.
But
it gives me hope that
it's the first
we
bit.
might be able to save Dorian a little, maybe.
It's the only hope we have.
It really is. So, of course, Aelin is like, I need to get this fucking necklace off because I feel like I'm gonna die. So she takes it off and places it on the table in her room with Rowan, and I was gonna ask to make sure if it wasn't fake, that Arabin hadn't switched it somehow. Rowan said at last, his eyes fixed on the word key, but I can feel it, a glimmer of whatever is inside that ring. He's like, oh god, this is terrible. What I also thought was funny is they decide to hide it, and she has like a creaky, like loose floorboard she wants to put it under, and she's like, why don't you do it? I don't want to touch the thing. And he's like, no, go ahead, you can, you've touched it already, it's fine.
Pick it up. You pick it up. No, you pick it up. I don't want to touch it.
They're like, I don't want to touch it, you go hide it. I don't want to hide it, you hide it.
They did say, though, one of the runes, or I guess one of the word marks, that are carved into it, matches the mark of Brannon that's appeared on her forehead many times.
Yes.
And they talk about, like, whether anyone had looked into the symbols. And she's like, if anyone has looked into them, then they would have been in the Library of Orinth, which the king sacked and destroyed. So, don't know. Have no idea. But yeah, they bring out a why can't I think of the word? A copy.
Oh yeah, a replica.
Yeah, a replica. So Lysandra's jeweler, they had the jeweler create a replica of the amulet so that she could wear it still and not have to wear the real one and keep the real one safe.
Yeah. She's like, I don't want to wear this. Hold on. Luna, what are you doing? Okay. Yes, so she has a replica. Lysandra's jeweler is a very talented person. Mm-hmm. So replica of the ring, replica of the necklace.
They talk on the roof. And she tells Rowan that it's actually, like, Arabin is basically being murdered now. Because she said that Lysandra was going to do it. And Rowan is, like, a little surprised that Lysandra's gonna do it. And Aelin basically is like, she's got the most reason of any of us to kill him, to be honest. And that she had sent Kael to ensure that everything goes well. And she's, like, still conflicted about it. Which I think is great for her, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I think she was conflicted up until he put the ring on her, really. And then she still kind of... She says something along the lines to him of...
She basically is conflicted because she says that she still feels that she wishes that there were another way, because at the end of the day, she does owe him her life.
Yeah.
Because he did save her.
Mm-hmm. And did keep her safe for, even if he did all this terrible stuff, but, like, kept her safe.
All this time, I thought it would be a relief, a joy to end him, but all I feel is hollow and tired. And then she asks him to hunt down Lorcan and see if he has accomplished the task. I love this part too, because he asks if she's ordering him to eliminate him, and she says, it's your call. Do as you see fit. And he says he wished she told him one way or the other, but giving him the choice, respecting their history enough to allow him to make that decision. It's so nice.
She also takes the little, like, thingies out of her hair and tells him to sell them. And he says, as you wish, pocketing the comb. Such a pity, though. Your enemies would have fallen to their knees if they ever saw you in it. And then she also tells him to burn the dress. Sell those and burn the dress. Which is fair.
Sad, but I get it.
This part kills me.
Yeah. They're having a really cute moment. They're, like, looking at each other, and, like, it seems like something's about to happen.
Tell me what you're thinking, he murmured. I'm thinking that the next time I want to unsettle you. All I need to do is tell you how rarely I wear undergarments. His pupils pupils flared, dilated, same thing. Is there a reason you do that, princess? Is there any reason not to? I pity the foreign ambassadors who will have to deal with you. She grinned. Tired of death and tired and of waiting and of saying goodbye. Rowan, she breathed. His hands tightened slightly on her waist, his thumbs grazing the bottom of her rib cage. She slid her fingers down the side of his tattooed cheek and, faster than she could see, he grabbed one wrist and then the other, yanking them away from his face and snarling softly. The world yawned open around her, cold and still. He dropped her hands as if they were on fire, stepping away, those green eyes flat and dull in a way she hadn't seen for some time now. Don't do that. Don't touch me like that. There was a roaring in her ears, a burning in her face, and she swallowed hard. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. She backed away a step. I'm sorry. It was nothing. Good, he said, going for the roof door himself. Fine. Alone, she scrubbed at her wet face, at the oily smear of cosmetics. Don't touch me like that.
Rowan, you're such a dumb asshole.
We couldn't just have a nice thing, Sarah. We couldn't just end with a nice thing.
Well, don't worry. We kind of do end with a nice thing because literally the next bit is Lysandra fucking slits Arobyn's throat.
And she doesn't do it cleanly, we find out. We find out that Arobyn...
this man suffer.
She slits his throat, kind of jagged, and it causes him to choke to death on his own blood.
Good job. Good job, Lysandra. We're so proud and so happy. He actually dies. Aren't you impressed?
I am, but I'm still concerned.
Fine.
I
Sarah
had to
makes
wait.
us sad.
Like, there was still... I had her... She sees his dead body at some point, and I needed that. I was like, okay, he's actually dead.
Visual confirmation.
He's actually dead. Fantastic.
We don't want any of this, like, oh, we don't know where his body went. God fucking damn it, please, no.
I do like the, little snippet before she does it. Lightning gleamed on the blade, a flicker of quicksilver. For Wesley, for Sam, for Aelin, and for herself. For the child she'd been, for the 17-year-old on her bidding night, for the woman she'd become, her heart in shreds, her invisible wound still bleeding. It was so very easy to sit up and slice the knife across Arobyn's throat.
Yes.
And we get our last.
We got highs and lows and highs and lows. Yep. So now we're back on a low.
Yeah. So
we're gonna talk
Lysandra
about
killed Arobyn,
Dorian.
which we're happy about.
Yay.
And now we are back with Dorian Demon Dorian with Demon inside of him.
The demon has been getting stronger, and he's feeding on the torture that that the demon is inflicting on the people in the dungeons.
Yeah. So you get this idea that similar to when the the Vogue princes or demon commander things that had Aelin when she was in Wenlin and were feeding off of her scared and sorrow and all fear. Of that.
Yeah.
This is the same thing that's happening. They torture a man. Dorian can't stop it. He can't control the demon anymore. So Dorian has now, we get this glimpse that he has now officially lost all control of this. Now we are in our final pages, and there's one more act that Aelin or Celaena needs to do.
She says,
first of all,
yeah, go ahead.
Aelin and Rowan still have not talked.
Yeah, it's great. They really do a good job of communicating and dealing with their issues in a timely and appropriate manner.
Mm-hmm. It's really great. So they have to go literally the next day because they have to play the part of they have no idea what happened to Arabin. So they arrive at the Assassin's Keep. And she pauses for a moment.
Yeah.
And closes her eyes and gets into character. Because I put Celaena makes a grand reappearance, or you did. One of us put Celaena makes a grand reappearance in our notes.
I don't even know which one of us that was. I don't know who
I feel like
that.
I would have put it, but I also think you could have put it. So like I'm not sure.
I'm gonna say it was you.
Okay.
One last time.
Yeah.
You have to wear this mask one last time, and then you can bury Celaena Sardothien forever. Mm-hmm. Goodbye,
and
Celaena!
She looks at them. She looks at them and says, "Don't get in my way." So it's the three of them showing up.
Yep. So they get summoned to the Assassin's Keep, and she roars. Like, basically smashes the doors open. What the running hell happened? And just goes in there, like, guns blazing, yelling at people.
Pointing
She's
fingers.
Like, yelling, like, start talking now. You tell me what's going on. You explain yourselves. Why are these two pieces of whoring trash in this house? Referring to, like, Lysandra and Clarice, who are in there. Lysandra putting on the goddamn show of her life.
Sobbing.
Sweet God.
I didn't
Just
do anything, I
breakdown.
swear. I woke up, he was dead. Someone came through the window.
Oh my God. Clarice says, Lysandra would never harm Arabin. Why would she when he was doing so much to pay off her debts? Did I ask for your goddamn opinion, Clarice? Yeah, she gets them to show. She says, show me where you found him. In his room. We moved his body upstairs. You moved it before I could study the scene myself? They're basically having, like, a big power struggle. Trying to figure out, like, they're trying to figure out if Celaena's lying because they think Celaena might have killed him. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to, like, play it off like Lysandra or Clarice might have done it, or maybe you two did it, or maybe someone broke in. I don't know, but I'm pissed that you guys let Arabin die. Mm-hmm. And, like, what were you all doing?
Yep. So the three people she's talking to right now is Harding, Turn, and Mullen. And those were the other three assassins that we were introduced to. Yeah. They're like of the original 7, those are the 3 that remain. And so she's like in their face of, what are you doing? How did you let this happen?
Yeah. This is when we find out that, like, how he died specifically. Because they mention someone sliced his throat open and let him choke to death on his own blood. And, like, Aelin walks into the room and is like, oh, shit. Like, there's a lot of fucking blood. She goes, what the fuck? What the hell had Lysandra done to him? She was like, look, a bloody footprint. Boots, probably male. They studied Rowan's feet where the prints loomed behind her, even though he'd probably already examined them. Little shit. Of course, the footprints Chaol had deliberately left were made with boots different from what any of them wore.
Mm-hmm. What I like is that, like, Chaol helped this happen.
Yeah.
Like, he came in and was like...
Chaol helped, like, cover it up and set everything up to make it look like someone from outside came in and did this. To, like, help Lysandra pull it off.
One little tally mark in the Chaol did a good thing category.
Sure.
I would say there's about 15 tallies for each thing he did that was shitty. So this is one little tally.
He gets Fleetfoot, and he gets this.
Yeah.
That's it. I can't think of anything else.
He saves the people that are being captured. He saves Fleetfoot. And then he does this.
Sure.
So he has 3 wins in 388 pages.
Basically, they kind of all agree, like, this was someone that came from outside and killed him. And they'll go track him down and figure it out. But before we do that, we should all hang out because the guy from the bank's coming over to read Arabin's will, which seems really fast.
Clarice is the first person that brings this up.
Yep.
She pretty much, Celaena's like, get out. Like, I don't think the two of you did it, so get out. I don't want you in my face anymore. And then Clarice is like, I called the bank, and the bank master's gonna come and read Arabin's will, so we want to wait for that, because I was told I'm gonna get money.
So
she's like, oh,
heinous.
Okay, so you're just a gold digger. Got it. Perfect. Arabin's blood hasn't yet dried on that bed, and you're already swooping in for your bequest? I don't know why I'm surprised. Maybe I've dismissed you as his murderer too soon, if you're that eager to snatch whatever he's left. Someone knocked on the front door. Aelin slid her hands in her pockets. Well, well, what good timing. And the bank master shows up.
And this is the end of her master plan. The bank master shows up and goes to read the will and says, "It is my will," the master read, "that the sole beneficiary of all my fortune, assets, and holdings should be my heir, Celaena Sardothien." Clarice whipped around in her chair, fast as an adder. "What? Bullshit," Adian blurted. Aelin just stared at the master, her mouth a bit open, her hands falling slack to her sides. "Say that again," she breathed. "Everything, all of it, is left to you. Well, except for this sum to Madame Clarice to settle his debts." He showed Clarice the paper. "That's impossible. He promised I was in the will." "You are. Don't get greedy now." They checked the duplicates, like everything's legit. And she basically is like, "Well, if this is my property, get your whoring, blood-sucking carcasses off my property." Oh my god. She basically kicks all of them out, starts counting down on her fingers, and they all flee.
Mm-hmm. Well, just Lysandra and Clarice. The three men stay behind and are like, the fuck? Yeah. What do we do now?
She tells the three of them that, like, she would let them, like, "I'll let you leave with the clothes on your back. Like, you are one of the reasons that, like, Sam is dead. They didn't help at all." But she does.
They held him back as she was getting, like, beat to shit also.
Yeah. "Correct me if I'm wrong, Master. I own this house and everything in it. Taryn, Harding, and Mullen haven't paid their debts to poor Arabin, so I own everything they have here, even their clothes. I'm feeling generous, so I'll let them keep those, since their taste is shit awful anyway. But their weapons, their client lists, the guild, all of that is mine. I get to decide who's in and who's out, and since these three saw fit to accuse me of murdering my master, I'd say they're out. If they try to work again in this city, on this continent, then by law and by the laws of the guild, I have the right to hunt them down and chop them into itty-bitty pieces." She batted her eyelashes. "Or am I wrong?" "You are correct. You can't do this. I can, and I will. Queen of the Assassins sounds nice, doesn't it? See yourselves out." She does offer to sell them the house and the land and the guild.
Yeah.
And the bank manager tells them the sum of money, and it's atrocious that they don't even mention it. It's so egregious that they don't even say it. She says, "I take it you don't have that much? Too bad. I was going to offer to sell it to you all at face value. No markup."
"You bitch," turned spat. But Harding stepped forward. "How much?" he asked. So Harding, being the, like, softer spoken one of them, is like, "I'm gonna fix this. Wait, what if we all paid together, the three of us and the others, so we all own the house and the guild? So now, It's not one singular person that
My God,
runs
it's a democracy.
Maybe she's her plan the whole
We've
time.
overthrown the monarchy. Hooray.
Money's money. I don't give a shit where you get it from as long as it's given to me. Can you have the papers drawn up today, providing they come through with the money? Of course. Give me 4 hours. So she's
and
like,
then she
you
kicks
can
all
leave
of them
now.
out. Yeah.
Goodbye. You have 4 hours, and I'll let you back in when the papers are drawn up. Okay, cool. I have this for the next 4 hours. Goodbye. You can leave now.
So, all of those trips to the bank,
Yep.
all of the times she went to the bank were all so that she could figure out where the wills were stored so that she could switch them all.
Yep.
And
Everything.
Adian and Rowan both, like, figure that out in their heads, and they're like, you switched the wills. You went to the bank so much. Why?
You said you needed money for an army, Adian, so here's your money, all of it, and every coin for Terrasen. It was the least Arabin owed us. That night I fought at the pits, we were only there because I contacted the owners days before and told them to send our subtle feelers to Arabin about investing. He took the bait, didn't even question the timing of it, but I wanted to make sure he quickly earned back all the money he lost when I trashed the vaults, so he wouldn't be denied 1 coin he owed us. Ha ha ha. How the hell did you even do it? She opened her mouth, but Rowan said quietly, she snuck into the bank all those times that she slipped out in the middle of the night, and used all those daytimes meetings with the master of the bank to get a better sense of the layout where things were kept. You burned the originals? Clarice would have been a very rich woman, and Tern would have become king of the assassin. And you know what? I would have received the amulet of Orinth. That was all he left me. That was how you knew he truly had it, and where he kept it, from reading the will. She shrugged. She's like,
Yep, that sounds about right.
maybe. And of course, they go down to look at Arabin's body. This is all happening in the dungeons, by the way. Because she's like, I need to see it for myself that he's actually
They
dead.
need to check.
Mm-hmm. She extended her hand behind her to Adian. Give me your sword. Adian drew the sword of Orinth and handed it to her. Aelin gazed down at the blade of her ancestors as she weighed it in her hands. When she raised her head, there was only icy determination in those remarkable eyes. A queen enacting justice. She lifted her father's sword and severed Arabin's head from his body. It rolled to the side with a vulgar thud, and she smiled grimly at the corpse. Just to be sure, was all she said. And that
Yay!
is the end of part 1. Holy!
It's such a good end to the first part. I feel like it's very satisfying, despite the fact that we still have no idea if Dorian's gonna be okay or not. And also Rowan and Aelin are fighting, but
yeah.
One
We
of the
end
big
with
bads
Rowan
is
and
dead.
Arabin is dead, thank God.
Yay.
We end with Rowan and Aelin not happy with each other, which
Is Rowan's fault.
you know, we need a third act breakup. It's fine. We love a third act breakup.
They're not even together.
Shh. That means they might not break up when they actually are together. So
Oh,
we get
okay.
it now.
If the third act breakup
Then
happens before they're together, then everything's smooth sailing from here. That's adorable. You're delusional.
yes, that's exactly what's gonna happen. It's fine. Everything's gonna be great.
Okay.
There's only we're more than halfway. You can barely see the little tab.
Yeah, you got 2 other books over here, though. 3 other books.
Shh. Each book is its own thing. We're gonna pretend. We're more than halfway. There's like a little bit left. It'll be fine.
There's like 200, 300 pages. Just a little bit. It's just 300 pages.
Yeah, just fine. Don't worry.
It's just a whole contemporary romance novel.
Yeah, easy. So little happens in those.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's where most of my little marks are. I'm just saying.
I don't see any of that. It's
We'll
all
see how that
figment
goes
of your imagination. It's fine. Everything's gonna be Fine. Thank you for checking out our podcast and getting to know us. That was Queen of Shadows Part 1, the second half. We hope you enjoyed your time here. You can find us at the Smut Peddlers on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for additional content. Can't
Thanks,
wait till
guys.
part 2.
I'm so
Goodbye.
excited.